Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We want to welcome everyone to today's regular meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council. We actually are going to rearrange our agenda just a little bit to allow our other honored guests the time to arrive. And so we're going to ask the clerk to begin by calling the roll.
Councilmember Terry.
Here.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Here.
Councilmember Sander.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Here.
Mayor Budge.
Here, thank you. We also want to welcome all of the people who are going to be watching this on the internet or on Metro Cable later. And there will be an opportunity for public comment. So we ask everyone to fill out these nice speaker cards in the back of the room and let us know that you have something you would like to say this evening. So Stacy, you want to read the replay schedule?
Sure. The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will air Wednesday, August 22nd at 6 p.m. and Thursday, August 23rd at noon on Channel 14. A DVD copy can be ordered from the City Clerk's Department, and a webcast of this meeting will also be available on the city's website within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
Thank you. We're going to begin our meetings, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance and with an invocation. Our Pledge of Allegiance tonight, I'm hoping Larry Ladd will lead our Pledge of Allegiance. Wow. And then we would invite you to remain standing. The invocation will be by Bishop Yuari Suafo from the Mather Ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. So please stand.
All right, everybody. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bishop.
Our Heavenly Father, we come before Thee at this City Council meeting to give thanks for those that have given of their time and talents and for the opportunity to work together as leaders in community. We pray for the leaders of our community, that they might make unified efforts along with the community to work together to continue to move forward and provide services and opportunities for those that are less fortunate, as well as beautify and make our community grow, and to find pleasure in living in the city of Rancho Cordova. We give thanks for those that continue to give of their time and their means, and for the opportunity that we have to bless the lives of those that are less fortunate as they seek the continued services that are provided for them. We also pray for those that watch over and protect and serve in our community, especially our law enforcement, our first responders, and our firefighters. We're grateful for them. Again, Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to work together as a community and pray for these blessings and for the opportunity to work and seek the stewardships that we have to watch over our community and help it grow. And these things we ask in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop. Have a
You're
safe
welcome.
journey tonight.
Thanks.
Be seated, everyone. So while we wait for a few minutes for other guests to arrive, we are going to turn this over to our Economic Development Department, and they have a special guest to introduce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Kurt Haven, Director of Economic Development, members of the council. Tonight on your agenda are two reports back to council and discussions, one on our Community Development Department and one on our Economic Development Department. And as you know, we have many partners in Rancho, Cordova, and one of our largest partner is the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. And this group doesn't need to have an introduction to Barry Broom. He's bigger than life as the CEO of GSAC, we call it. But I wanted to introduce Barry to our TV listeners and watchers. Barry is the CEO of Greater Sac Economic Council. He's here to talk about regional issues that Greater Sac's working with and the relationship with our city. Unfortunately, he had another meeting to go to, so he won't be here for the rest of our discussion on economic development. Barry, come on up. I was going to call you Bishop.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Pleased to be here, Mr. City Manager. Yeah, so I think, well, first off, let me thank you for your support. As you know, the VSP CEO founded this organization, and you have tremendous, corporate representation from our board here in your community because, Rancho has really been the employer's community here in this region. You've been the job producer, and I think you'll continue to be able to play that role. I think your team's doing a great job for you as far as working with employers and delivering great services. The development services are excellent, and of course, the community's brand is continuing to rise and develop, and I think there's going to be a lot of great opportunities for us into the future. So as you know, regionally, there's a lot of interesting things in how we work together. So, the quick update, we have over 246 companies that are in our portfolio that are considering the region. 3 years ago, we had 6, so that's a significant improvement. I think it speaks to the kind of continuity we've had as an organization and a team, and then the consistency and support. We have 41 CEOs on our board that serve with 19 leaders, of which your community produces one of the leaders for our board. And the goal, of course, is to get everybody to work as a team and concert, because we understand that ultimately these economic conditions won't change or get better unless we all work together. So from an organizational standpoint, we brought in a new executive vice president, Danielle Casey. She just joined our team today. She was rated one of the top economic developers internationally, 40 under 40. She's a rare talent. So, we spend about a third of our resources on evidence and analytics, which of course lead to our brand, but it also is how we interface with companies. A third of our money on marketing communications, and then the rest on business development. We have 2 people in the Bay Area full-time. We make about 25 presentations a week there. This year, we'll open up an international foreign direct investment platform in partnership with the Bay Area. As you know, we've been building a close relationship with San Francisco. So our international foreign direct investment work will be in concert with the Bay Area. In October, we'll be going to China with a Bay Area delegation representing our interests. We have a national campaign going as well that's going to be very strong. It's called the California Option. I think one of the strengths we have as a market, we're really the last region in the state you can come in and get a great quality of life, get access to talent. From a community standpoint, we have the fastest growing qualified workforce in the region now, which I think is very exciting. I think, from a community emphasis standpoint, we're putting tremendous energy into Mather Field. As you know, Mather may be a county asset, but it does impact Rancho's economic well-being. So we've been working with them to build a new business plan. This was one of the requests that came from your board and your city economic development team and your city manager. So we're hoping in the next 3 to 6 months, we'll have a better strategy around Mather. The redevelopment of Aerojet is also important. We do have a couple of major corporations looking at the former Aerojet site. That would be, pretty exciting news for us. We also think the major chemistry company out there is going to continue to expand, so good news on the job front. From a strategic perspective, having all of our communities work together gives us a little bit of strength. So we're not going to be a big advocacy organization, but we did write an economic policy that would require the state of California to enter into an economic strategy and to assess their policies and their implications on jobs. That has passed the Assembly unanimously, and it looks like it's going to pass the Senate unanimously. I think one of the challenges we have as a community is the state of California is not paying attention to their unintended consequences of their policies on our lives and not necessarily building the right community infrastructure for us to grow our economy. So one of the beauties of having 40 CEOs, we got a little bit of a voice we didn't have 4 or 5 years ago, because now when we go in and talk to the governor's office or the legislature, there's some lift. I would also like to acknowledge Assemblyman Cooley, who has done a great job representing us. He's actually led the policy in the bill, as well as Placer County Assemblyman Kevin Kiley. So you can get a little Sacramento County and Placer County cooperation going. I think next year with a new governor, I think you're going to see a move towards better economic policy, which will improve our performance. And then, of course, one of the challenges we have is, we've had a lot of economic success. We've taken a lot of product out of the market. So we need to get developers to build more infrastructure and products for us. But I think the move forward for us as a community is going to be very exciting. I think our traction is getting much stronger. And I think we're very close to turning the corner and becoming, the broader community that I hope will become, which is a dynamic place not dependent upon government, but produces its own economic well-being. And I think, some of the changes at Sacramento State and UC Davis have been pivotal, both the chancellor and the president's on our board. So we've I think, made a lot of strides as a community. I'm very excited about what's happening in Rancho. I love working with Kurt and his team and your city manager and everyone here. So, we remain very positive and optimistic. I'll be brief, which I know is shocking to each and every one of you, but I'll leave a few minutes if you have any questions that you want to ask about what's going on in the marketplace or what we're doing. I'd be happy to entertain a couple of questions if that's of interest.
So, gentlemen, questions for Barry?
What do you see as overall market in Rancho? What direction do you see it tailing right now because of the housing and the business? Are you seeing more businesses come to our city, or are you seeing them, as you try to pitch to the 260, are they looking at us as a viable option now as we're starting to do more and more work?
Yeah,
and what do you hear?
Yeah, I think Rancho's really strong. I think, it's the balance between good schools, affordable housing, and infrastructure. I mean, one of the things that I want to do, it's tough to do in our market, but, I'd like to see some new office investments. We're doing a lot of stuff with California North State, which, as you know, has a presence here. I think that's a growing enterprise. That president's on our board. So we've been working on, how do we deliver healthcare corporate headquarters in the Rancho? How do we do some pharmaceutical manufacturing in Elk Grove near the research center? How does that institution partner with UC Davis and its urban campus objective, Aggie Square? So I think Rancho's going in a great direction. I think we need to bring new development expertise to the community. And I've been working very hard on Los Angeles and Bay Area developers. These guys have a lot of money. They can throw up product without losing sleep. A lot of them are backed institutionally. So the demand's very high right now, but the product availability is low. But Rancho scores well, educated. You got a great economic development team. And I think you've done a great job. I think your community's reputation's on the rise.
Super Donald? David?
Barry, sometimes in this room and city forums, we worry about the future of this office park. I mean, clearly, this has been the economic engine for the Sacramento region for a while.
Yeah.
It's the biggest, greatest concentration of jobs, maybe in Northern California. But it was that 20 years ago.
Right.
Will it be that in another 20 years? That's the question we ask ourselves. What do we need to do to maintain this status?
Yeah. Well,
And how do you see it evolving?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing we have to do is create more demand for it. So, one of the things that I think is really important to us is Mather Field is a different product. So when we kind of mothball these products, for a better term, we're shortening our ability to create economic outcomes in your commercial office park. So Mather's going to drive your commercial office park. And what Mather allows us to do is to build a really international freight and cargo position, which some people don't necessarily find exciting, but I will remind everyone it used to be a lot noisier than it is today. And I think driving, I think we can put 15,000 jobs at Mather. I really do, which will drive, a demand into your park. And I think the key thing is we got to think in terms of products, right? So where's our biomedical park? Well, we really don't have one. Where's our food and ag park? We don't really have one. So, developing something with Woodland, doing something with Aggie Square, creating these parks will create new demand for the market, and it'll naturally push up the demand for your commercial activity. And I do worry about it. I think, I just drove it because I was coming here. I drove around it. It's still a clean, really well-run park. So I still think it's going to remain a viable economic asset. But if we do a better job with Mather and we get, some foothold at Aerojet, those kind of things create demands for the park. And part of what I think we've done is we've allowed a couple places in town, like your park and Placer County, kind of carry the weight of the whole community. And it's really not enough employment and economic activity to do that. One of the other things I think is really important, I know the residents worry about traffic. But the reason we have traffic is there's like 4 places to work in town. So if you live in Placer County, you're going to get on the 65 and either go to Roseville or into Sacramento. And, we've got 133,000 people living here that are working in San Francisco. So building out Mather and building out Aerojet, that's not going to create traffic. I think that's going to take traffic off the roads because you're going to have more jobs in closer proximity to people, and we won't be making these 50-minute drives across it. So I think the Brookings report, and we're 3 years old in August as an organization. So I know it feels like we've been around forever, but we're maturing a lot. So I'm going to be able to in the next 6 months spend all of my time on these issues versus licking stamps and answering phones and doing the things when you run a startup. And I think you're going to see us get a lot of traction. But the Los Angeles market and the Bay Area market has a lot of interest in this community. And the developers have an interest too. So I think, so I look at Mather Field, I think if we get the Category 3 and get out of our own way on that, I mean, there's 4 1 million square foot investments looking at Mather Field right now. But, we've kind of had this on again, off again feeling about Mather, and then that short circuits to economic performance, then it slows down the demand for commercial properties. And, we got to have more confidence ourselves in doing that. But I think it's a good, solid park. But we're going to need to get Mather Field up to another level to keep things going.
Bob?
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that you're as interested in Mather as you are. The idea of having 15,000 jobs there sounds great to me. And as far as noise is concerned, I was stationed at Mather and it had B-52 bombers on it. So it was a little bit noisier then than it is now. But I'm glad to hear that we have that kind of interest in Mather. And then we have, there's a little bit of a difference in the way it was developed at McClellan and we have developed at Mather. So I'd like to see more of the McClellan kind of a development at Mather than what we've got right now.
Yeah, that airfield, you can't even build one like that right now. So two things that we have real strengths for. If you look at the infrastructure at Aerojet, there's 4 power stations over there for SMUD. So we do have a headquarters looking at Aerojet because, it's a food and ag company and they're a big vertical farmer. And, those vertical farms use a lot of power. And, to have a substation just ready for them, especially SMUD, God bless us, right, to have SMUD. I think SMUD's one of the most important economic assets in Northern California. So I think Aerojet has 4 substations for SMUD. Those roads are in. There's all kinds of unique infrastructure underneath those roads you could never build again. We've had 2 major Chinese automakers looking at Aerojet. So, you put, a couple 3,000 jobs in at Aerojet, you start creating more demand for suppliers and partnerships. And those are the kind of companies that'll be looking at Rancho. And then Mather's a gold mine. I think we have really underestimated how powerful Mather is.
Thank you, Bob. Actually, every time somebody says that, we all remember what's under the runway that has never been mined, which is the whole reason that Tykert got started. So 2 things you said really resonate with us, and one of them, of course, has to do with the fact that Mather closed in December of '93, and it really truly has essentially been mothballed. And so it's absolutely amazing, but very refreshing that the county has now done a master plan, and that There's construction out there, there's new, just on the flight line itself. Once you get into the county beyond the city limits. And that part is really exciting. So we're very supportive of that. The other thing is your comment that you're looking for builders, office builders, investors from the Bay Area, because we really, there just isn't that much construction going on around here. And as we travel around the California or the United States, there's a whole different generation of architecture and kind of lifestyle building planning that's going on that doesn't yet exist here in our region. And we really need some of that because that will help us all reinvigorate and remodel the physical, our physical built environment that we have today.
Yeah, and so like we, we had a long competition for Google. We got shortlisted, finished second, unfortunately. There's some pretty promising, high-profile companies that evaluate us, but we have to look a little bit more like them, right? So they come in and look around like, where do we go? And they don't see properties for them. And this gets into the development challenge, which is, land development's the primary activity, and that's, not always bearing fruit. And then the second issue is, we have smaller privately held families. So when you look at a market like I was in Phoenix 10 years, there was a lot of money from New York, Boston, Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Dallas, Atlanta, and Southern California in Phoenix. So one of the things that I've talked with our developers who are close friends of mine, and some of them are investors, is, you want more out-of-town money here because the market will scale faster and everybody will do better. So if we can get, we have two big LA groups floating around here now. And one of the things that I've asked them to do is, wherever you land, I'd like you to throw up 400,000 square feet of state-of-the-art Class A office space. Well, if you're getting your money from New York Life, or Prudential or CalPERS, that's not the end of the world. But I mean, if you're getting that money from your brother and your cousin and you guys are all pooling your money, that's a heck of a lift to ask them to do. So we got to, so a lot of this that's happening now with our brand and reputation. But I've been down to I'll be going to Los Angeles a lot more. LA likes us. I mean, the LA market thinks a lot of Sacramento. They want to do more here. But they've questioned, are you guys too provincial for an LA group to come up here? And I've convinced them we're not until they come up here and we act too provincial for them. But I'm in sales, so got to give it a shot. So
Well, they just haven't gotten over the cowbells.
Yeah, exactly.
All they had to do is look at the G1C.
Well, we should have won that. I've even gotten to where I worry about that now too. But yeah, so I think the good news is, we got to learn how to get better. We got to learn how to work together better. We got to figure, we have challenges with the state, but if the next governor, puts a little bit of elbow grease into economic development, which we need the help with. I mean, we're not San Francisco and Silicon Valley. We need a working state economic development group to help us, just like Rancho needs a working regional group to help you. Right. I think we'll do very well.
Well, we're all extremely pleased, and we just want to express our appreciation.
What, is there a film or what are we? Oh, am I getting something or?
So Barry, I think everybody, certainly all of my colleagues, all of our Economic Development Department, our Rancho Cordova Chamber of Commerce will all agree that it is extremely refreshing to have a truly regional economic development organization to help us in marketing Rancho Cordova and to provide expertise and advice and counseling on the directions that we should be going, just reinforcing what we're doing. And so as a result, we want to give you your own personal key to the city as
amazing.
A token of our appreciation.
Well, thank you very much. Are we getting some social media on this? I just want to say I've been working for 30 years with communities. This is the very first key to the city I've had in my career. So thank you for that. Thank you. I will wear that. Can I wear this around my neck when I hang around town? Well, thank you very much, Mayor.
It opens the door to the city hall, Barry.
That's
so.
okay. Thank you so much.
So, did the Buenrostro family join us? Great. So I'm going to ask Ulysses and Moises to join me down front. So, Chad, would you like to introduce
If you wouldn't mind.
these gentlemen? Absolutely. Here.
I'll step up to the podium. So excuse me here. Yeah, thanks. Madam Mayor, Council, distinguished guests. This is a bit of a change in gears from the last presentation, but on August 4th, as many of you know, we had a vehicle accident here in the city of Rancho Cordova where a vehicle struck an apartment building. Both the vehicle and the apartment caught fire. During our investigation into this incident, the Rancho Cordova Police Department officers assigned to the Crime Suppression Unit met a family living at the apartment building who was inside their apartment when the collision occurred. And some of this pertains to the gentleman behind me, and some of this pertains to other folks that are in the audience, but we'll get to that. Unfortunately, a family living in the apartment building who was inside the apartment at the time of the collision had 3 of their children that were injured, and then 1 of their pets passed away in the fire. A little over a week ago, our officers and City of Rancho Cordova staff, along with the Sacramento SPCA, teamed up to bring some smiles to the family that were well needed and well deserved. The family adopted a new pet rabbit, and we presented them with some toys, bikes, gift cards, and a rabbit cage, and some accessories to go along with it. During the event on the 4th, RCPD received assistance from many residents who directed the Crime Suppression Unit officers to the scene and then assisted the officers once they were there on the scene. We want to thank all of the residents who supported our officers and our community. With their help, the Rancho Cordova Police Department apprehended 2 suspects and arrested 1 for multiple felony charges related to this incident. Tonight, we'd like to recognize 2 of these residents as our hometown heroes for their heroic actions that will be described here in a moment. And I'd like to turn it over to Mayor Budge.
Chad, thank you. We just want to second what our deputy chief has said. This is absolutely amazing. You all put yourselves at risk, and we're so proud of you, and really pleased that you wanted to step up and do this. And a lot of what's in here is stuff that Chad has already read, but we want to say that you all, when you saw the CSU officers, you pointed them in the correct direction of the suspects so that they were able to pursue them and get both of them, and as was said, on multiple charges. So whereas Moises and Ulysses Buenrostro are being recognized for taking quick action to safely evacuate residents from the apartment complex and assist Rancho Cordova Police Department officers in apprehending the 2 suspects involved in the vehicle crash and the apartment fire. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Rancho Cordova expresses its sincere appreciation to both of you for their heroic actions in supporting the Rancho Cordova Police Department and keeping all of our Rancho Cordova residents safe. And so we want to present this to you on the 20th day of August, 2018. Ulysses, this one, okay. One for you, okay. And Moises, one for you. Thank you. You all are brothers? Yeah. Wonderful. So let's give these brothers another round of applause. You all are a wonderful example for all of our young people who live here in town.
truly made a difference that day, changed some lives. Thank you.
Okay, so we're ready to move into the balance of our agenda. And the media is welcome to stay, but if you need a minute to collect and leave, we're happy to do that too. So let's go into public comment. And as we said before, citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda are asked to fill out the speaker card in the back of the room. And you will have 3 minutes to share your thoughts. And remember that because when things are not scheduled on the agenda, that we can't take action on them, but we can certainly schedule something for a future meeting or put you in touch with appropriate staff as is necessary. So Stacy, do we have speakers signed up?
Yes, we do. The first speaker will be Walt Myers, and following Walt will be Larry Ladd.
Okay. Walt, welcome. We don't see you often enough.
My name's Walt Myers. I live in Rancho, Cordova. The curmudgeon, as Dave Roberts referred to me, is back. The city manager, as a city engineer, once told me that traffic people could do magic with the sensors to control flow of traffic. At Cordova Lane, Zinfandel, Mills Park, Matherfield, Routier at Folsom Boulevard, the southbound traffic is routinely screwed. After a train triggers the arms and passes, the northbound traffic is given the right of way. Recently, I just missed the light going to the post office at Cordova Lane, and I waited for 3 light rail trains to pass. Each time, the northbound traffic was allowed to traffic or to proceed. It took me almost 9 minutes sitting at the at the station. I don't know. But this to me is how the rail line is split in the city. If the traffic people can do magic, do it at least at Cordova Lane, Mills Park, and Routier. These are not feeders from the freeway that are somehow controlled by other people. I forget how that was. But like myself, there are many residents who hesitate shopping south of the tracks and go to Folsom, Gold River, and even Citrus Heights to spend our money and create taxes. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Public Works is in the office, in the room.
I'm
and
sorry?
Public Works is in the room, and Albert would be happy to talk to you. Okay?
You're saying staff?
Yes, right here.
Okay, who can I say sent me?
Us, we sent you to see
You?
Albert, right
I can
there.
mention your name, Linda.
Well, Albert's right there. Turn around.
Fine,
Okay,
Thank
Albert,
you.
raise your hand.
fine, thank you.
Okay, absolutely.
Hi, guys.
Larry.
Larry Ladd, one of the many founding fathers of the city of Rancho Cordova. I live over in Sun River. And I guess, along with Bob, that makes me a historical figure. And as such, I was really excited to see the city is asking for people to come up with ideas about historical milestones in the city for the last 5 years. I know for me personally, the most exciting historical milestone was building the pipeline from Carmichael Water, where their intake on the American River, and hooking it up to Rancho system, so that if any other well needs to go down, we're not involved in a zero-sum game with developers out in Folsom. If it goes down, it gets partially treated, diluted in the river, and brought back to Rancho. So for me, that was a huge development, but maybe not for most other people. And part of, in trying to make the pitch for the historical significance of that pipeline, part of it is, for good history, you have to have some hindsight. That pipeline might be historically significant for one of two reasons. Either A, there was significant contamination there that hurt people, and that was removed. And as an old ambulance guy, then maybe I get some credit for a multiple field save. I don't know. That's one extreme. The other extreme is that it was nanny state hyper regulation. It was a waste of the taxpayers' money. And in the new regime in Washington, in the courts, it may get nullified. And if that's the case, then maybe the historical precedent should be the case is Michigan versus US EPA. And that's sort of should watch what's coming down with the non-delegation doctrine from the Supreme Court, because there's all kinds of rumors about how it's going to impact on environmental regulation. I don't know which. And so what I am doing as an individual is I'm going to find a commercial lab that's willing to apply the latest detection technology from Kazakhstan for the breakdown products of liquid rocket fuel, so that if there's some kind of legal challenge working its way down from Washington, I can at least try and get some empirical evidence to decide whether applying the non-delegation doctrine to the remediation system in Rancho Cordova is relevant or not. So thank you for the opportunity to put in the public record that I'll be out searching around for a commercial lab. At least we'll then give an estimate as to how to apply that new Kazakh test to our water. Thanks, folks. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Larry.
Next speaker card I have is for J.R. Mack. Did I say that correct? And following J.R. will be Kim Dean. J.R., if you will introduce yourself, you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Jerry Mack, and good evening to everybody. I'm one of the victims of the fire in Rancho Cordova. I lost everything. I got to hand it to our fire department. They're the best I've ever seen. But my main concern is I speak for 105 other families that live there. Vintage Fair Apartments is a nightmare waiting to happen. We barely got out. And the gentleman that you just awarded, they live right below me. We were all out there together. Something needs to be done to improve these older buildings. The kids, me, everyone in it, we almost bought it in a matter of 2-3 minutes. The landlord there is a slumlord. They lie, they cheat, commit fraud. They sold the tenants' renter's insurance. After the fire, come to find out they were paying insurance on the property. They had no renter's insurance. This is wrong. There comes a time when we all have to speak up. I'm a retired Marine. I don't believe in backing up. I believe that right is right, wrong is wrong. We have slumlords in Rancho Cordova, and they need to be looked at. And I'm speaking for the families that are there now. A lot of people were supposed to be here today, 26 people. They're scared they get evicted if they say something. Well, in my case, I don't have to worry. I'm burnt out. But something needs to be done. Our building should have had fire extinguishers. It wouldn't have been as bad as it was. We barely got out, 4 families. 8, excuse me. I have a document here. 8 recordings of threats if I say something. Well, I've said it. I'm going to continue saying it And I'm going to back up everything I say. I've lived in Rancho Cordova since '85. I love it here. I love the people. I owned the business here for 12 years. And I want to still be a part of the community and do what's right. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Mack, we're really pleased that you came to share that with us. Code enforcement is in the back of the room, and our CPD is still here. So would you share all that with them
Sure.
so they can begin to start addressing that?
And I said before, you know, I want to make sure you know, the fire department was great, and so were the officers. Excuse me. They're great people.
Super. Well, we wish you well. We do have a program of residential inspection, so
These apartments are dumps.
they are old.
Disposals don't work.
Yeah.
Electrical, heating, and air conditioning problems, cockroaches, bed bugs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my other
So-
suggestion to you, beyond just talking to our code enforcement officer, and code can probably get you in contact with Legal Services of Northern California or somebody else, but a lot of the things that you're claiming here, there's laws beyond just what the city has in place that protect a lot of what you're saying, and if anyone is intimidating or threatening residents, there's a whole nother
It's done
set
in a
of
quiet.
issues.
It's done in a quiet and subtle way. Some people like
Not
me.
if you have voicemails.
Well, I have voicemails because I was called in and told to be quiet,
Well, there you
and I
go.
made it very clear.
There you go.
Okay, so Carrie, would you put your hand up, please? And start with Carrie and Lieutenant Lewis.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And Kim Dean?
Yeah, my name is Kim Dean, and I am still a tenant at the apartments. I live a couple buildings over, but I seen it. I was a witness that day, just getting out of bed, and it was awful. Anyways, I have a lot of concerns. Yeah, the people that run the place, not right. It took 2 weeks over the winter to get my water heater fixed. I'd come home, want to take a shower, and then the water wasn't heating. Took 2 weeks. Just recently, I had my air conditioner out. It was on a Saturday, and I told them, my air's not working. It's hot. I have a little puppy. And she said, it's Saturday. What can I do? I'm going, it's 100 degrees outside. You should have a maintenance person on a Saturday. So anyways, I seen Mazio, the person, walking around the building. So I got him personally and said, you need to come to my apartment right now and look at my air conditioner. My house was almost 90 degrees. You know, it wasn't working. So he came and he couldn't even read the little box where it said air conditioner or heat. He couldn't read it. He changed that out. I said, Mazio, that is not solving my air. It's still not working. Oh, it's gone down 2 degrees. Call me tomorrow if it's not working. I called 3 times. He never answered the phone. I didn't get my air fixed till Wednesday. Now I've got, talk about roaches. I've got roaches. I spent 5 hours cleaning yesterday, and they're not in the office today, but I'm going to address it to them. They did come and spray outside a couple months ago, but it didn't really, I don't guess it didn't help. So that's my concern. And also I'm a little concerned about, I've been sick because I smelled some of, the air, from the fire, it came to my place. And I've had some medical issues. And I'm interested in it and trying to get well. But I'm concerned that when they do that constructions, what do I do if I have that issue? You know, do I just sit in my apartment for 30 days and just, you know, if I smell that smoke and all that, the air. So I'm a little concerned.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm really sorry about all the families that had to deal with that because they didn't, and they never even once addressed us tenants and saying, can we do anything to help you guys? How are you guys doing? No, they wanted to do a barbecue 3 days after that fire and just rush it under there, just go on. And I was sick. I didn't go. I had texts to come to the party 5 times that day. And I didn't go, but that's because I was sick. Anyways, I just want something done and, thank you.
We understand, Kim. Carrie, would you be sure to get her information also too, please? Okay, this is Carrie with Code Enforcement.
Might I just say it would be really nice.
Up in the microphone.
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Mag, and it would be nice to say on the record if folks would call Neighborhood Services at 916-851-8770 prior to an issue like this happening when they have no heat or no air conditioning or some kind of issue going on, because we have staff to address, and while we try to be everywhere all the time, we have a 3-year rotation. So if it's between that time and issues come up, please give us a call, and I'd love to talk to these folks. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I just ask one quick question?
Yes, sir.
Could you give us a report back of your responses that you've gotten from this property owner within 30 days to the council? And I would like to also hear about their thoughts on holding a renters' rights class for all of the tenants in that building.
Absolutely.
And what their response is to that.
Yes,
request.
absolutely. I'll work on that. Thank you, Councilmember Terry.
That should be an eye-opener. Goodness. Kim, thank you so much for coming.
Next speaker is RJ Barramond. You may. Does he have a name? Do you both want individual 3 minutes, or do you want to speak together?
Wasn't even planning on coming up here or nothing, but.
You have 3 minutes, so feel free to introduce yourself.
My name is RJ Barramond. My uncle is in the audience. This is my neighbor, Chris. So we were affected by the fire, and
You're also residents at Vintage Fair.
Was.
Okay, yeah.
I'll let Chris go first. My damage is very extensive. My neighbor who lived right underneath got directly hit. Her kids were hit, and my aunt was on the balcony, had jumped back, basically had cardiac arrest, was in the ICU for 3 days. I myself have chronic PTSD, not self-diagnosed like some folks. So I've been getting treatment through my employer. This kind of has made my stress levels go up again. And, but that aside, I've been talking to the county, and they don't seem very willing to help in the matter. I talked with Don Natoli's office, because I know the city's doing their best. At first, I was in a state of confusion. I'm like, what's going on? Why isn't anybody helping? Well, it seems that the city is helping, but the county has some responsibilities. But anyways, if Chris wants to say anything.
I was actually just glad I was gone that weekend, so my kids aren't traumatized like hers. It's hard to come back to that. So actually, I unloaded my car. All I had was clothes on my back. So visiting friends out of town. Left the car seats in the house, couldn't get them back. Borrow them for someone else just to be able to get my kids. So it's been hard. Big transition, still trying to find a place to live. And it's hard just packing up what you can in a couple boxes and moving on. But it is what it is.
Would you all go out and give your information to Carrie and the police officer also?
Yeah. But one thing that's important is this. So aside from the fire damage, there's also the residual fire damage, which is whatever is left by some miracle will have, like for example, my late mother had left behind, 2 Persian rugs that were out in the living room, gone. Now, the one that was in the hallway has been decaying over time now, especially with the acidic material that's in the ashes. And of course, there's nothing that can be done about it. But I'm just looking as our renter's insurance was through the landlord, whatever. But I know for sure the county has had a means of helping folks in our situation, because I know in the Bay Area they have stuff like that. I moved there. In fact, I moved from there to have a nice, quieter, more efficient life than the hectic mess that I dealt with over there. But anyways, thank you very much for the time you've given us.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a quick question, sir? What do you mean by the county gave you help? Because most I work in affordable housing when I'm not working here. The county doesn't have a lot of jurisdiction within the city when it comes to matters of your housing.
Are you
So
talking about
what-
the Bay Area or here?
Either one, you said that the county had a responsibility. I'm trying to understand what you thought they would help you with.
So we'll see in the Bay Area, if a fire happens, there usually is a county service that goes out with folks with clipboards. They're like what's the word I'm looking for? Social worker. Yeah, it's like social services. So the county itself has built-in social services that it goes out and reaches out to families and people that are affected. And it's just, my mind is blown because this is the capital. So it's kind of like, what are they doing? You know, they're given a set of funds every time, their little budget meetings. And so they have the resources, but they certainly don't have the scheduling and budgeting that should go along with that. Because when I contacted Don Natoli's office, I've contacted his office 5 times. And now he's fully aware of it, but the last response I got was, we're aware of the situation, but we're not sure to handle it currently. We'll keep you informed.
Yeah, as far as I know, there's nothing at the county level that would assist individuals.
I guess that's just the Bay Area then, because Contra Costa County had
the
those.
American Red Cross, I know,
Yeah.
gives out hotel
Around here,
vouchers, but
it's
that's usually
usually-
a few days.
Around here, it's usually the
So,
Red
yeah,
Cross.
there's not a government service that
Yeah.
Well, that's what was confusing, because the
Yeah.
Red Cross that was great of them to help, and I'm grateful.
Wasn't the Red Cross on site that,
They
that day?
gave us hotel for
Right.
a couple of nights, and that was very nice. They gave us some money for food, etc. But the thing is, relocating, etc., loss of furniture, having to start your life over. It's not like we made the decision to do that. We're not a bunch of undesirables who decided, oh, I'm going to inject something and then go on a rampage or something and destroy my own life. No, we were a bunch of regular people living our lives, and then somebody decided to turn that upside down. Now, if we lived in Contra Costa, I guess that's a different county. But I mean, that doesn't mean that the city's responsible. That means the county here is not, doing what they could be doing. But I have a couple of friends who are social workers. One of them in particular, her name's Samantha. She works in Contra Costa County, and she was shocked. She said, wow, I'm surprised they're not helping. I said, well, yeah, me too. Because I used to live in Martinez. In fact, I didn't like Martinez, which is why I moved here. There was a lot of meth heads in Martinez. And I don't know if you can tell from my tone, I'm not very fond of undesirables. So, anyways,
appreciate it.
I hope you
RJ,
guys have a good night. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there other people here tonight who came because of the fire also?
Yeah, Veronica and her brother.
Okay, would you all be sure and talk to the officers and to code enforcement too, please? Okay, and Chad is in the back of the room ready to talk to you.
Through the mayor.
Yeah, thank you all. Adam?
I would just, as the city, I'm Adam Lindgren, the city attorney for our guests. I appreciate very much Mr. Terry's suggestion about a tenants' rights program of some sort. I think that we might our office might offer to support that or to coordinate with you on helping provide that programming in some way. I think that we might also want to take the materials that result from that sort of training and keep them as a resource here at City Hall for any similar tragedies like this that might happen in the future. And then, of course, perhaps what would be useful to do is a broader review of our rental housing inspection program. One of the statistics you heard that may or may not be acceptable to the council is that 3-year cycle. Right. You've made really significant inroads to shorten a variety of critical cycles that sometimes government does important things on cycles that to the receiving person and the public seems like a long time to wait for you to double check something.
Absolutely.
And here we've made big inroads in having a rental housing inspection ordinance, and we have a lot of property owners who cooperate with it and do a great job. But maybe we really need to take a good, hard kind of auditing level look at whether there's some lessons learned and some cycles that we could shorten down and some hatches we could batten down and improve.
I appreciate the comment. I think the important thing about that conversation is, because I totally agree with you, but if we start to get myopic about, especially code, I think right now, and Cyrus, we've had a lot of discussions recently about this, we need to talk in general. What are the actual priorities for code enforcement, not just adding more, for lack of a better word, a whole bunch of new ideas that we all come back for, that we want to say, this is now illegal and you need to go look at this, because they can't do everything. And so more importantly from this is this more important than other things that are on the list that maybe we don't need to have them worried about so much, so that we can worry about the things that are actually, a threat to life, health, security, those types of things, comparatively to maybe some of the more aesthetic issues that I think some of us really care about, but aren't necessarily causing the same kind of threat to individuals and to families. So I think at some point in the not too distant future, we were going to talk about code. This should definitely be a part of that conversation, but there's really only two choices that we have. We can either set real priorities and help manage to what really matters, or throw a whole lot more money at this issue and figure out what we're taking that away from in order to do that. So to me, those are really the only two options. So I appreciate that, Adam, for bringing that up. I just want to reiterate that when that conversation comes back, it needs to talk about the whole pie and how much of that and where we want to focus it on.
I think Cyrus is prepared to do that. So, okay. Do we have more people signed up?
Yes, I have 3 more speaker cards. Debbie Katie, and following Debbie will be Jim Van Neck.
My name is Debbie Katie. Thank you for having me. I won't take up much of your time. I just wanted to let you know that I am a resident here of Rancho Cordova. Bought a house a couple months ago, but I've been working at Anthem Blue Cross for about almost 10 years, not quite. And I just wanted to just let you know that right now the associates are in the middle of contract negotiations. The associates belong to the OPEIU 29 union. And so I just wanted to make you aware, nothing's going on, just wanted to keep you informed. That's all.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jim Van Neck.
I'm Jim Van Eck, and it's kind of prescient that Mr. Terry over there was talking about aesthetic concerns, because that's what mine is about. So I feel a little humbled by all the despair and everything we've been listening to tonight, because that's terrible, and I can't imagine being in their shoes. But over the years that I've been here, and I've been semi-retired, I use the bike trail a lot. I loved what you guys did to the Hagen Park and the dog park and all of the improvements north of the pond. And everything south of the pond is kind of languishing. The playground equipment, the picnic areas, the walks, they're all riveted. And for a while there, got my little pool net, and I was out there in the pond taking the sludge out of it, and even talked to folks that managed it over there to provide a little barrel so I'd have a place to put all the sludge and everything I pulled out. And I said, well, are you guys ever going to go through and clean up the fish pond? And they said, well, we don't know. And everything was, and I didn't really expect anything instant, but I just got to think, well, this would be a good forum, I guess, to express my concern and say that I'd be happy to be a volunteer to even make that happen, just because I take so much pride in what you folks have created, in my doing whatever little things I can do to kind of maintain the really nice environment. And both my son, who's in the military now, and myself, former military, we live very close to the pond. My grandson absolutely loves the park, and we just enjoy a lot of the benefits that have come from being in such close proximity. And to that end, I would just like to ask the question, is there anything in play to kind of finish up or to improve upon those picnic areas that are south of the pond? I didn't understand why everything north of the pond got all fixed up. The walkway around Hagen, the duck pond and everything, and then everything south is just all rutted and kind of ugly, and, that's the way it is. I know there are priorities.
Jim, we'd love to take credit for the things that you think are really great over at Hagan Park, but quite frankly, it's not us. It's the Cordova Recreation and Park District. They are celebrating their 60th anniversary this year, and they're headquartered upstairs. And they have their own elected board. They'll be up, they have members who will be up for re-election and new people who will be up for election in the fall, so you get to vote for them. And they have a meeting once a month now, which may be on the second Wednesday of the month. Stacy, wasn't it just last Wednesday? Okay, so on the second Wednesday of the month. So in September, on the 12th, I think that is, then come back here and make those comments right here.
And they're going to be held, the meeting will be held in this room, you're saying?
Yes, they do, which was one of the advantages of their being here in City Hall, because otherwise, they were just meeting in the Rec Building 1, where there is zero acoustics and zero facilities. So,
Well,
yeah.
Well, thank you for that heads up. That gives me some direction to go. And may I just say as a closing comment, I really like the forum. This is my second meeting, by the way, in 10 years. So I don't feel like I've been rushing it or making a pest of myself, although I don't mind doing that when needed. But the forum is very nice. I really appreciate the attention that you give to the folks who have come here tonight with some serious concerns. And there's kind of an efficiency here that I really like for local government. I've been part of a lot of smaller town governments and things like that over the years, and just really liking this. It's just very super that you're doing this for the people. I've loved living here since I have before we became a city, and so I'm enjoying all the benefits. Like to participate a little bit and do a little bit of payback. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. So you came here with the military to Mather?
No, I didn't. I migrated from I was down in Vacuumville, as we called it, when I was at Travis, and that's where I retired
Okay.
from.
Well, the only reason I ask is that Mather is also celebrating its 100th anniversary.
I know they are.
And in September, there will be a huge body of events
And we're
over at
going.
Mill Station.
Yeah, I'm going to take the grandkids, and we're going to go to the air show and participate in some of those other things, which my son, he's kind of part of that in his involvement. So I love the way you guys do what you do here. I mean, this is really a celebration of a city that cares about its, in my opinion, its occupants, and that makes it really special, I think, to be part of all that. So.
Super. Well, we really
Madam Mayor,
appreciate it.
if I could amplify what you said just slightly. The improvements you mentioned actually did have a large city role and probably would not have happened without the city of Rancho Cordova. So I'm really happy you brought those forward. The new picnic structure was funded by fees that we collect from new development. And we funded the Park District to build that new picnic structure. That's why it's there.
Yeah.
And the paths that were done used CDBG dollars from the city, as well as a grant that we assisted the Park District in obtaining to redo those paths. Took a very long time to get them in, but they're in, and they look great. And the improvements going on to the live steamers there, that's also funded by the city.
I thought you guys had something to do with that.
So,
I think,
and the new bicycle connection that goes to the American River Parkway
Yes.
by the baseball field, that's
Yes.
also a city project. So if you throw all that together, and essentially everything you brought us, probably wouldn't have happened without the city.
that was my
And
guess.
so thank you for bringing that to our attention. It was very great to hear that. We don't hear a lot about parks because we're not in the park business, technically.
Sure.
Although we're in it in a lot of ways by supporting that agency upstairs.
Well, yeah, and everybody's working together to make Rancho the really cool place it has become and is becoming more of. And that's what makes my joy about residential privilege around here just such an exciting prospect for myself as well as my family, who will be here long after I'm gone. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very
folks.
much.
Don't
Jim?
wait 10 years next time to come back,
I'll be back 5 years.
Jim, in looking at the Cordova Recreation and Park District calendar, their next meeting is on Wednesday, September 19th at 6:30 in this room.
Okay, September 19th, 6:30.
Okay. Thank you, Stacy. Anything else?
Our last speaker card is Diane Rogers.
Ah.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council and city manager. I just wanted to extend my gratitude and appreciation. Last Thursday, we held our 8th annual Business Expo, and this year was even bigger than it had been in the past. We welcomed over 740 folks coming through. We had nearly 100 booths, and we were all the way out to White Rock. And I just want to once again thank the city facilities team for the extraordinary work that they did on our behalf in support of this effort. There's absolutely no way we could have held this event in support of the business community and the residential community without their support and all the work that they did. So, and also thanks to all the city staff and the people who are in this building who are willing to give up one day for the inconvenience that we offered, but I think it was well worth the while. But anyway, thank you very much on our behalf.
Wonderful. Thank you, Diane. We're really pleased it was so successful. That means you'll be back again.
It's what brought me here.
Okay. That's all?
That's all.
All righty. We'll go to council reports, and we'll start with Donald.
Thank you. I'll just start off with thanking all of the first responders and folks that dealt with a what ended up being a very visually impressive grass fire for me to come home to on Saturday.
Yes.
I think there have been a lot of conspiracy theories because of what it looked like on the levee there. So I think the investigation is still going on, but great job to everybody. Just a lesson to everyone. Please, if you see a fire along one of our major thoroughfares, do not pull over along the side of the road and get your phone out so that you can post photos and videos onto YouTube. Luckily, there was not.
But Donald, how would we all have all seen it?
Including some of our family members on this dais, I will point out. But what I will say is that great job by Metro Fire. You know, as we were driving home, we actually saw a semi pulling a trailer that had a bulldozer that they were taking out. And driving around the next day out by Slough House, I actually realized that that's actually where that bulldozer is housed, is at the Metro Fire Station right there off of Jackson and going out to Ione. But I was just going to point out that had any of that fire actually come across the canal and gone on to that side, because of all of the looky-loos, it would have been very difficult to get emergency vehicles in there. And so making the sheriff take the time to come over and buzz around our neighborhood to say, all of you get back in your cars and go home, is probably not something that we need to be them spending time on. But nobody was hurt and everything was handled, so that's great.
Very eye-opening comments at Rayleigh's yesterday.
Yeah, well, and it was pretty bright. I mean, even from my house where I couldn't actually see the fire, it was lit up for a good hour. So I mean, it was like midday for a little while there. So that does beg the question that as we talk about fire suppression and prevention and disking and cutting grass, that the county needs to also make sure that along our borders and other places like that they take care of it, because it was a few feet high by the time it started on fire on that side of the levee. We had taken care of our side along the road, which was very good. Some of us this morning attended the Valley Vision AT&T, I guess, meeting. I know I got invited by somebody that I thought was with the realtors, but she was helping out the group to put it together. But very eye-opening about small cell tower stuff. I know we've done a lot of our work already, but it sounds like there's still a lot of work and a lot of moving pieces when it comes to that technology. Attended the city luncheon this past week where Ken Cooley was our keynote. That was great to hear from him and kind of his vision on what he's been working on. And then a handful of us, and I know the scheduling got a little funky, but a handful of us did also get to attend a tour of BDX at Capitol Village. And I just got to say, for everyone out there that was concerned about the standards and the quality and what this product was going to be, and I know Linda's going to probably talk more about this than I did, but I was so impressed with not only what they've built there, but the services, the amenities that they put into that I don't know of another multifamily apartment complex anywhere in this region that is welcoming and treating their residents to such a great extent. And whether it's the bike rack room with all the tools to fix your bikes right there on site, something that Cyrus and I talked about getting one of those at City Hall, because it's all on cables to where you can't take it, but you can fix your bike and have everything right there. To trash pickup 5 days a week at your apartment, and the multimedia room and everything else. I mean, literally, I get these are tenant assets and things that they get to use. But oh my goodness, if they could rent those facilities, which I know they won't because it's for their tenants, that would be some of the nicest meeting space and reception space in this town now. So hats off to what they've built there. It really is a great community asset for us.
Who else's apartment complex fixes breakfast on Sunday morning?
Well, hot breakfast on Sunday morning,
Hot
right? I think
breakfast on
it's
Sunday
most
morning.
days they
It's not
do everything
continental
else.
breakfast.
Let's also
Yeah.
focus on the fact that if you deliver mail, it texts you to tell you that your mail is available and ready for pickup with a code that you go down and put your handprint on and feed your code, and the mail pops out.
Yeah, mail, your Amazon drop-offs,
It's right.
your Uber Eats, everything else.
They're installing the one that has a refrigeration unit, so you can order your food there.
Right.
Yeah.
And have Amazon drop it off.
Complete outdoor kitchen at the pool area. It's really phenomenal.
Yeah, it's so much more than what they told us it was going to be when they presented it.
Mhm.
So it's fantastic. And then lastly, and I don't think we've met since then, or maybe we did, but I didn't remember to say thank you, was to Lorianne and the rest of the staff on doing Kids Day at City Hall. My family my two boys had a great time going out to Soilborn and everything else. They were very tired when they got home. But again, thank you to all the staff and everybody that were involved in making that a great day for all of the kids.
Super. Thank you, Garrett.
Once again, kudos to our fire department. Thank you for taking care of my family. I was not here during the fire, but I did get 10,000 text messages from all of the community telling me, where are you? Why is this on fire? What are you doing about it? I'm like, I don't know. Scared for everybody because I was like, I actually did text someone, get off the side of the road, stop taping it. You're probably in the way of the fire department. So I agree with that. But thank God we really took some time to disc our fields because that thing wasn't jumping. National Night Out was amazing. I got to go to all over the community. It's great to see a lot of people that are very interested in helping out the city. I met an individual that's in some of our more rougher apartment complexes, and he is just so motivated. And I was like, have you ever heard of the Measure H funds? About doing something for your area. And he was like, yeah, I'd just love to put a little garden together to kind of help out. I was like, he takes the time to go to 4 apartments on his own time and set up study schedules and then bring the kids over that are struggling and help them to educate themselves. And I was like, no funding, nothing for city, on his own, has his own studying and tutoring program to help out struggling kids in apartment complexes in our city. And I was like, why do you, and I asked him, why do you do that? He's like, I just want to see the city keep improving. So when you meet people like that, it's humbling because someone like that is doing it only because of the grace. I went to the STA meeting. Thank you for, Albert, there he is. My man sitting right there texting me the whole time as I'm sitting in these meetings. We were able to bring home $110,000 for the city for roads. The interesting part is they're going to come into this, they're trying to decide as a city, and we should definitely have a workshop on it eventually, is do we support what they're trying to do to do they want to raise the taxes again? What are they going to do about road? Because they're running out of cash, and I was talking to him, and we're about $7 million to $10 million in back arrears on what we need on the road, but there's no way to actually fund the roads. And so it's actually becoming quite a big issue. I know that Rancho Cordova passed it. We're good about passing if we think it's going to affect our city and put us in a better light, but do we want to support that? So that's the next big thing that's coming across, and I think we should actually sit down as a group and decide what we really want to do, because I want to represent everybody well up there. And if we don't want to raise the taxes, or we do want to go forward with what they're saying, I want to know what everyone's saying. BDX was awesome. It's an amazing piece, and everyone should rent there, and VSP people are going to be very well taken care of because it's within biking distance. Rancho Cordova soccer took off, so congratulations to them getting it all out there. I got to, of course, coach because I got wrapped into it, because as any dad has to coach his son. My son then, on the day before, decided to break his arm. So now I'm the coach of a team with my son getting to watch the soccer games for the next 3 to 4 months. And I was like, perfect, because nothing like a dad that can't coach a son as you're doing coaching other sons in soccer. But my other son did score 12 goals. So he had a great time. He can score from the middle of the field. It's nutty, and he's He's got a very angry temper and he kicks it. The Business Expo, it was the biggest I've ever seen. It wrapped down and around, and okay, so I have a business. It's in Rancho Cordova. I have to make lumpia every time because I call them lumpia leads, and so I made them. I have yet to be able to make it past noon because people come down, including everybody, and get the lumpia out. But this is the biggest and the most leads that were qualified. Like these were actual other businesses between like people that actually own businesses in our city getting involved. And so it's refreshing to see it be like 18, not just like the big boys. It's like a guy that's opening an engineering firm, one guy that's opening a civil engineering firm. There's another guy that's trying to do a real estate office. And it was just brand new people that I've never seen before. That Diane's doing an amazing job, like wrapping the small businesses in, and to see it grow out and around, and then the way she put the ice at the end, so if you're hot, you have to walk by all the businesses to get the icy.
I heard that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was well planned. And so I appreciate, because I was there at the first one of these when Diane, and it was like in a little teeny room, and we were in the room and there wasn't enough, to now where you have to hopefully get a good space, or you're all the way down at the end. And so I'm just so glad to see that Rancho Cordova is so business friendly. And that's about it.
Super, thank you. David?
I attended the same small cell meeting this morning, and it was quite an interesting discussion with AT&T as we talked about the future of technology, what it might mean for Rancho Cordova. We, of course, have an agreement in place that allows them to place small cells, not on our sort of vulnerable, attractive-looking light standards, but a lot of other places in the city. And most of the jurisdictions in the room do not have such an agreement. So we're actually a step ahead of them. But what's interesting is thinking about what the step after this is. How many of these are going to be deployed? The numbers we heard today were pretty amazing. AT&T is putting 50,000 of these sites in California, spread all over, and there are perhaps 8 other competitors doing the same thing. So you do that math, and there are hundreds of thousands of these sites that need to be added to their, in essence, the grid, our cell grid here in California, and we're going to be having a lot of those come into our city. And managing that appropriately will be, I think, a little bit of a challenge for city staff. But there are also opportunities. As those sites get in, they pull fiber to the site location, which means that if a business is nearby and they want fiber access, they want high-speed internet through fiber, now the node that they have to pay for, instead of coming from maybe a quarter mile away, is from that nearest microcell site that AT&T has put in. So there is a side benefit to this network being deployed, and that was sort of exciting to hear about. I also went to the soccer jamboree, and I think I don't know how many soccer jamborees I've been to now, probably 8. This is probably my 8th one with my son. And I have to say, Rancho Cordova Soccer is doing an outstanding job. This is the best one I've been to yet. They've got, free snow cones and music, and it's definitely a big family atmosphere around soccer, and it's all happening right in a large park here, Stone Creek Park. And the Park District is to be credited for doing a great job in transforming those fields from barely playable, that they were a few years ago, into quite a nice facility. Good. Everything's working reasonably well there. It's quite a turnaround. Good. So it was nice to see the success of that event. I attended SACOG board last week. There is a lot of discussion about changing demographics in the region and how we best reach the needs of those changing demographics. And we had a lengthy discussion and 2 presentations on that topic. I'm not going to go into it here, but if you'd like more information, I could forward those links to you about those presentations. RCAA, Rancho Cordova Athletic Association. Last week we had a great meeting kicking off an entirely new, it almost sounds crazy, but an entirely new outreach mechanism to Rancho Cordova parents and kids. Last spring, we came to an agreement with the school district that's going to allow for basically the first time on campus contact and recruitment of kids with our nonprofit youth sports programs.
Wonderful.
So this week during back to school night, it's being rolled out by a variety of our sports leaders, and probably the guy who's doing most of the work of the leagues is right here in the room, Rod Borba with girls softball. Wave a little, Rod, so we all know who you are. He's one of our hometown heroes for what he's done for youth sports. Rob runs girls softball, and based on this agreement, he can now go to back to school nights, set up a table that says RCAA on it, and it has all of our sports, local sports leagues information. Previous years, it was not allowed by the school district. You couldn't go anywhere on campus, you couldn't market to the kids. You could pay something to get something in Peach Jar, which is an electronic flyer distribution thing, but that didn't work. And so we've gone old school, basically. We're back to paper and shaking hands and talking to parents. And the number one thing, Garrett, you're going to be happy with this, the feedback I'm getting from those early meetings where our state leadership's been out there, the number one request from parents is for basketball. Where is our youth basketball
All right.
league?
Now, right back. Can we go back to the civic discussion? Look, we can bring up the center. I said basketball. Did I not say basketball? Donald, back me up here. How do we get basketball done immediately?
The good news is, you know, the city's funded 2 different basketball efforts. One of them prospering, the other we're working on. But we're going to have development on the basketball front. But it's interesting that comes back as, I don't know, Rod, was that also your experience? Yeah. Did you? It seems, I mean, it's not like neighborhood by neighborhood, it's all over the place. We hear basketball, so we know where our marching orders are.
Oh, you mean tall people have tall people to play basketball?
He has a very tall son that I'm
I
going
can
to need on my
imagine.
basketball team.
Why am I not surprised?
I'm a basketball coach, but this is totally independent of me. Data collected without me actually being there doing it, so that's good. And finally, the Promise event for our kids, Folsom Lake College here in Rancho Cordova at the Rancho Cordova campus. Great event. I almost missed it, but I guess my timing was probably perfect because I missed all the speeches. It took me about 2 minutes, Cyrus, to cross that street. We need to look at that signal thing we heard about before.
I'm standing there watching you.
Yeah, whatever it was, about 2.5 minutes before I could cross. But anyway, I walked in, get introduced, everyone says, oh, thank you, you're one of the funders of the Promise Grant, and then we went right to the reception. That was nice. But it was a nice event, a great group of kids, and it's really exciting to see the impact we're having with the Promise program.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my report.
Super, thank you. Bob?
Well, the buildings are going up very well at the Veterans Village, because I've been by that, and I'm really pleased that they're able to get as much done as they have. It would be nice if they could get it done before the rain starts. Hope the rain starts soon, and then again, I don't, but it's going to be a great event when we get that done. I had a meeting last week with the Mr. Stockwell, the director of the VA hospital at Mather, and what they are doing, that 19 acres that they bought from the county, there's going to be a building for its Consolidated Social Work and Homeless Patient Aligned Care Team, they call it. And it's going to be on the east side of Moyer. It's going to be a building where homeless veterans can walk in. It's not something where they have to go in and get our card and start. It's just something for them to walk into. It's going to be 2 stories. And anyway, I have a copy of this information I got from the hospital there. I'll be able to hand it out to the other members of the council. But it's astounding what all they're doing. I mean, the number of buildings that they're adding to the VA hospital, the 24th of this month. They're opening up the renovated 4th floor of the Sacramento VA Medical Center at 2 p.m. They're adding 5 beds on that. And this is some of the things that they've done on that. It's a spacious single patient rooms, bringing VA North Cal into line with inpatient care best practices, sleep-friendly accommodations for family and visitors inside the rooms, advanced visual cues such as low-hung and colored lights for floor navigation, best of the industry telemetry units, immediate automated dispensing of supplies and medication, and it just goes on. And it's just so many things that they're doing, and when they're adding on that, and then on that 5 acres that they bought on the west side of Moyer, where they're going to be eventually putting the Fisher House on that for the families to go in. They're also going to have a cancer care building there. another thing that's going on with the VA hospital that's just amazing to me is when they open up the, well, they are doing it now already, but they're going to open up the back of the VA hospital where they can get right off of International Drive into the VA hospital, because they're buying the acre, that small little strip right there where the data drive and that light is. They're going to just add that and get into the back of the hospital, the emergency room, and they have been working with the other health networks. And now if you have someone in Rancho Cordova who has a critical situation and they're picked up by the by the ambulances, then the ambulance can go to the emergency room of the VA hospital, and you don't have to be a veteran. And if it's really critical, they'll put the patient in the hospital, even if they aren't a veteran. I mean, they're working with all of the other healthcare organizations. So when you have that kind of a cooperation with the VA, and you have the kind of, well, like I said, the 24th, they're going to open up the, have a ceremony for the fourth floor of the VA hospital at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. But it's going to be unbelievable to have that kind of help. I mean, we have been waiting for just a general hospital in Rancho Cordova. Now we've got the cooperation of the VA. It's going to help in the emergency room too. So that's, it's, yeah, you have to be critical on it to be able to get into it. Otherwise, they'll still go to the hospitals in the cities around us. But still, if you have the need, then it is there. So that's just fantastic. I'm so pleased with that it's, yeah, yeah, for them to be able to do that. So I think we'll just stop on that for right now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was something that Metro Fire has been working on for quite some time, because they do transport the majority of our emergency, our 911 calls around here. And of course, having Data Drive open, thank you, Albert, having Data Drive open will be really terrific. That's back about 2000, Don Natoli and I started trying to convince them that they should do that kind of thing. And so, you know, sometimes things take a while. So skipping over the things like National Night Out and Kids at City Hall and the wonderful tour of BDX and the very rewarding event at Folsom Lake College to honor the second cohort of the Promise program, and being able to hear Ken, our former colleague at Community Council, and the small cells thing. I sit on the board of something that's called the Metro Fire Public Safety Foundation, and right now there's always a concern about whether that foundation wants to stay separate with Metro Fire or merge with the one in the Sac City Fire Department. But right now they're combining with one of our leadership grads, Walt White, who recently retired as the fire chief in the city of Sacramento, to bring something called the Fire Combat Challenge. It's kind of like the X Games or Ninja Warrior, American Ninja Warrior for firefighters. It's really, apparently, it's quite strenuous. We're in the midst of concerts at the Village Green. There are still concerts on this Friday night and next Friday night. Regional Transit met. I was asked to come and speak to the parents who are going to be the volunteers at Sunrise Elementary and Robert McGarvey Elementary to be the bike parents and the walk to school parents. Every year, the 50 Carter TMA puts on a little breakfast for these people, and they all come and watch actually the statistics about the number of vehicle miles traveled that were saved and the number of school drop-offs because all the parents are walking their kids and the kids are riding their bicycles. And the principals at both schools are very supportive of this project. So, and the one thing they had a nice video, Donald, but the one thing they didn't have a video of was the bicycle that made slushies.
You're supposed to do that, right?
I don't know what happened to the bicycle.
Oh, we're gonna find the bicycle. Well, we'll make sure to do that.
I'm not sure I can pedal fast enough to make slushies.
Honestly, the kids did most of the work, so.
Well, that's a good thing. And then this morning, we had some of the media out because Hacker Lab is opening its doors tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, as a matter of fact, at 11275 Sunrise Gold Circle. And don't go in on the south side of Sunrise Gold Circle looking for it. You'll never find it. Go to the Mexican restaurant and turn in on Sunrise Gold Circle there. It's right next door, across the street from Lowe's. And oh, good. Across the street from Lowe's. It's and as a matter of fact, they're already started classes. They had their first class tonight, and you sign up on the website to take their classes. It's absolutely fascinating because this is not just a space for our innovators and for people who have inventions or they want to be able to bring an idea into a prototype or something like that. This is also job training. Over at Hacker Lab, they are making their own signage, their own window signage with a vinyl printer, and they print out their letters. It comes on a sheet that they can apply to the window. But the thing is, you can get training in a variety of things like that there, and then go into alpha graphics or fast signs or something like that, and be qualified to work in their sign making, their fast sign making. So this has a huge amount of applications. It's in 2 suites in this address. The 3D printing, the laser cutting, the vinyl printing, I think he called it, is all in the first suite along with their classroom space. And then in the suite to the north, they have machining, old-fashioned die press and multiple access machining. And then they also have CNC. I want to get that wrong. But they have 2 of the big CNC machines. So you can really, it's much smaller than the space downtown, but when you are a member of Hacker Lab, it only costs $124 for a month. You get 24/7 access. If you have a family, the family gets cut rate memberships when you have one person signed up. You can actually, people from 12 to 18 can actually go over there with their parents and do things too. The monthly membership is 24/7 access, but it also gets you membership. Your membership allows you to go to anything in their offices in Rockland or their offices in downtown Sacramento. So it's an incredible asset for us to have here in Rancho Cordova, and we've been working on this a long time, and so here again, that's finally one of these things that's finally coming to fruition. So we're really pleased about that one. That was fun this morning. My husband says I'm easily entertained, but that's the kind of thing I find extremely entertaining. So, Cyrus, City Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2 very quick items. One, I wanted to thank the City Council for dedicating an evening last Tuesday to talk about the Civic Center. We had a very good, productive, and robust discussion about the possibilities and the opportunities for the Civic Center. And for the public's interest, the city recently purchased a piece of property. It's about 10 acres on Folsom Boulevard, very close to Mill Station, right next to Folsom Lake College. And the City Council directed staff that this will be the first priority for the city for construction and design of the initial phase of the Civic Center. So this is an exciting moment. We will be working very closely with the City Council, and we would love to have input from the community as far as the programming, the feel and the look and the design of the building and what could possibly go in there. So this will be coming up in the coming months. The next item I wanted to point out to the council that the city's leadership team will be going on a 2-day retreat this week. And the reason for the retreat is for the city staff and for the city leadership team to discuss and review the work plans, priorities, and also make sure that we are in alignment with city council goals and vision. And building back on the comment that Councilmember Terry had made earlier, one of the goals that we have is to identify some of our strategic plans for different departments, for different work that we do in the city, and not only alignment with the city council goals and priorities, but also be talking about specifically the kind of issues that Councilmember Terry brought up related to priorities, resource allocation, what needs we have, so we can fit that in the budget discussions that we will start later this year, early 2019. So that would be happening this week. That's all I have.
Wonderful, thank you. I am remiss in this was a different kind of public comment period. Fortunately, we don't generally have people come with such life-changing circumstances to report, but we also want to acknowledge the people who did come with positive comments and let you know that I'm going to copy you all on a letter that I received from a lady who lives just over here on Folklore Way, who's been a resident of the city for 28 years, and she said she's being honest, she did not vote for us to become a city, but she now knows that she was wrong. I've been very happy with all the improvements that have been occurring in Rancho Cordova and decided to write you to thank you for the latest one, which is the trail, the Mather Heritage Trail. And she truly appreciates that. And LED light bulbs in the street lights and cleaning up blighted areas. And she grumbled because it cost her money to build a fence, but she appreciates the fact that the trash cans are no longer visible from the street. And she's thrilled that there are new businesses opening, such as Mod Pizza, who brought lunch for us at Community Council on Friday. Yeah, they brought lunch and really good salads. And she says, I'm proud to say that I'm a citizen of Rancho Cordova. Thank you for all of your efforts and keep up the good work. So we'd love to have letters like that, and thank you very much, Sharon. So we're going to move into our consent calendar. We have items 9.1 through 9.9. Consent calendar items are deemed routine unless somebody has an item that they want to pull. Stacy, do we have anybody sign up to speak to any of these items?
We do not.
Okay. So does anybody in the council want to pull any of them?
Move the calendar.
Super. Hearing none,
Second.
we have a motion to approve 9.1 through 9.9, and Garrett seconded it. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Sander.
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Yes, thank you very much. Motion carries. We also have one consent public hearing item, and it's also deemed routine in nature and can be approved. Stacey, you want to read the item into the record?
Yes. A resolution declaring a protest hearing and authorizing the mailing of property owner ballot relating to the imposition of an annual stormwater utility fee for the Grant Line 208 project.
Super. So I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody left who would like to. Terrell, would you all like to talk about Grant Line 280? Okie dokie, 208, whatever that was. Super. Then I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to pass this.
Second.
Super. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Councilmember Sander.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Yes, thank you very much. Motion carries. Okay, so we have no other public hearing items. So we'll move into our regular calendar items. Item 12.1.
Item 12.1 for the record is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute contract number 113-2018 with West Yost and Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $841,622 for the development of the Stormwater Capital Improvement Program Master Plan.
That's a very lovely photograph.
Killing it on the photographs.
Albert.
Good evening, Mayor Budge and council members. Albert Stricker with the Public Works Department. And the city of Rancho Cordova has an extensive drainage system, the purpose of which is to collect rainwater and then discharge it in a manner that's both safe and such that the rainwater is clean when it enters waterways of the city of Rancho Cordova or beyond. And so this evening, we're going to provide to council an update on the various components of our stormwater system, and then also request city council's consideration of a contract that would allow us to better evaluate our aging infrastructure in some of the older areas of the city, and also identify and prioritize improvements moving forward. And to give us more information on that, I would like to introduce Alan Quinn.
Thank you, Albert. My name is Alan Quinn. I'm an associate civil engineer in Public Works Department. And thank you, Mayor Budge and council members, for giving me the opportunity to give the presentation on the Stormwater Capital Improvement Program Master Plan. Just a quick background. The county transferred all stormwater services and administration to the city in 2014. This includes operation, maintenance, as well as capital improvements. It also includes our clean water program, which is our stormwater permit that we comply with. That's a state and federal requirement. And also includes our development services, which includes doing a drainage review for development projects, for reviewing stormwater master designs, as well as studies. So our stormwater program is funded annually through our drainage fees. It's approximately $3.8 million yearly. The fee does not include a yearly inflation escalator, unfortunately. The fee going forward will include an escalator as new developments come online. In about approximately 5 to 10 years, the O&M costs will exceed our revenues, and then operation maintenance costs will rise with inflation. As Albert said, we have an extensive drainage system. Some portions of it were built back in the 1950s, so it's getting up there, almost 70 years of age. This system includes 250 miles of drainage pipe, 11,000 drainage structures, 20 miles of open channel, 6 pump stations, and 6 stormwater detention water quality basins. Some examples of our drainage infrastructure you can see here in the slides. To the left is the Bear Hollow Pump Station. These are electric pumps that serve the Bear Hollow Basin on the right. That basin is used for water quality treatment as well as providing flood control mitigation. And this Bear Hollow happens to serve the villages of Zinfandel development. Infrastructure also includes box culverts, such as the one on the left, as well as concrete line channels. Cordova Creek on the right is an example of many of the channels in the city that we have to maintain. And unfortunately, these channels are getting old and do show signs of wear. On the left and right are both concrete line channels that are starting to show cracking and failure, and those are issues that we need to address going forward. Also are the pipes that you don't see under the ground, drainage pipes. One on the left is actually an old clay pipe that's starting to fail. The one on the right is a concrete pipe with joint separation. That's typical as pipes age. You see settlement and pipes separate, and then you get root intrusion, as you can see on the right. and that can result in flooding. And these two pictures are photographs of flooding back in 2016. The photo on the left is near Malaga Way, and the one on the right is Gold Camp Drive. The master plan scope will include a review of records and field investigation. So just essentially looking at our existing system, what's out there, what do we have, and doing inventory of that. Also, public outreach, reaching out to the community and talking with our citizens to find out what their issues are, where they experience flooding, so we can, incorporate their input. Conducting drainage system video assessment, so going in and videotaping our drainage pipes and look at their conditions. And hydraulic analysis, which is essentially modeling our pipe network and looking at the capacity issues. And finally, developing a capital improvement program priority list, which we can then use to form our program and develop projects and budgets going forward. And this will be funded through our stormwater utility fee, which is a fee assessed on properties bi-monthly. The master plan study area will be the whole city, but we're going to focus our efforts within the area defined in the blue with the blue boundary, and that's because these areas are areas in the city that we don't have a lot of information. We have data gaps, and so we're going to focus on doing our TV inspections or videotaping, as well as looking at our assets in terms of where we have the types of pipes, the age of the pipes, and then that will help us come up with our priority list. Other areas to the city, other areas south of the city are newer areas that really don't require a whole lot of data gathering since they're relatively new. So that's why, as I said, we're focusing primarily in the areas within the blue boundary. The results of the master plan this will be a planning document that will provide a priority-based list of projects to improve public safety, reduce the number of emergency responses, increase storm drainage system reliability, and improve water quality. So the request we'd like to ultimately hear, before I continue with that, so we went through an RFP process, and that involved preparing an RFP and getting out there on the streets for consultants to submit their proposals. We received 4 consultant proposals, and we selected the most qualified consultant. So I'll give the next slide to Albert.
Thank you, Alan. With that, staff's recommendation is that council authorize the city manager to execute the consultant contract with West Yost and Associates in the amount of $841,622. And if approved by city council, the next steps would include the consultant commencing with their records review, field investigation, and we would expect to complete the master plan roughly in 2020.
Okay, questions for staff? Garrett?
No, I asked him. There's who's the guy that owns the other drainage?
It's for Anatolia 3. It's owned by AKT at this point.
That was them. They're looking at a way to try to give us their drainage because they don't want to have to work with the county, but there's some argument with them and the county right now, and they'd like to be a part of this. So I was asking if this had to do with that, because it's horrible to try to get reimbursed for the land.
Sure.
We're having discussions with the county.
An
and
annexation
developers,
into the district.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Bob.
Yeah, I'm curious about the, some of the open canals we have, like the one on Dawes Street that goes underneath that, and it's been there for a long time. I know my wife had an aunt and uncle that lived in one of the streets there on Dawes Street in 1958. And so it's been there for a long time, and it's something right now that there are a lot of people. I got a letter right here, just one of the many I have, from a lady who lives there and with that canal behind her, and she said, "Are you still going to put in a bike trail back there?" And as far as the people who live along there, who would have a bike trail back there, they would really be very unhappy, and we've all gotten that, because they don't think it would be safety for them. It would be another way for people to get into their backyard, get into their homes, and all that sort of thing. So is that something that's still in the mill, or is that something that, could you fill me up on that?
Thank you very much. At this time, only a feasibility study is being analyzed. So the entire purpose of this current effort is to hear from the community, what are concerns, what are thoughts, so that we could then consider the feasibility only of the path. This is not committing us to any direction at this time.
Okay, I can pass that on to her then and some of the others that I've got, because they were really concerned about it.
Right.
I mean, looking at that canal right now, it would be a very, well, when the flooding begins because of the 4 inches of rain in a day, kind of a thing, you know, when you get really pouring down in there. It's questionable about whether a trail would even be possible there, much less, you know, because we have to replace the broken canals and everything like that. So anyway, like I said, that some of our residents are concerned about the idea of putting a bike trail right behind them on that canal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then are we ready for a motion?
Move approval.
Second?
Thank you. We have a motion by Sanders, second by Terry. Call the roll.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Councilmember Sander.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGarvey.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Yes, thank you very much. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 12.2.
Item 12.2 is an annual Community Development Department update.
Okay. I see this as a team approach.
It is a team, is this on? Okay, it is a team approach, and we thought we would do it standing. So, Mayor, council members, my name is Elizabeth Sparkman. I'm the Community Development Director, and I have with me Darcy Goulart and Nick Sosa, and together we're going to give you a brief update of what we've been doing in community development. A little tour of what we're going to do is give you the status of some of the high-level specific plan projects, and then we're going to tell you a little about some applications we've received. You haven't seen these yet. Projects under construction, and then give you a summary of production homes, which is always of interest, past, present, and future, and then round it out with some completed projects.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good evening. So the first part of our presentation this evening is just to give you a little overview of some of the specific plans and what's happening with them currently here in the city. So the first one that we are currently processing is the ranch. The ranch is approximately 530 acres. It includes about 1,375 single-family homes. Of that, about 680 of those are age-restricted. There will be about 120 multifamily unit opportunities, 6 acres of commercial. And it should be noted that about 48% of this project site will be included as preserve areas. So we are currently in the EIR process right now. The consultant is drafting a lot of that document, so the project will likely be before the council sometime in early summer of next year. The next specific plan where we have some movement occurring here in the city is the Sun Creek specific plan. This was adopted in late 2013, about 1,200 acres for this particular specific plan. Total 4,800 dwelling units that include single family and multifamily. 80 acres of commercial and about 250 acres of wetland preserve. So what we're currently working on is implementation of this specific plan. So setting up fee programs, doing a nexus study, and some tentative maps that will be submitted here shortly. And we're going through some very minor updates to that specific plan. The last specific plan to highlight for you this evening is our Westboro specific plan. This is in the very early stages of the process, so about 1,600 acres. We're still waiting for a SOI application to be submitted to LAFCO for a small portion of the property that's currently within the county boundaries that would be included within the city. There's about 7,000 units included in this. The applicant is working on some additional wetland studies, so hopefully we'll see some movement on that in the next few months. And with that, I will turn it over to Nick.
Okay, we do have a few new projects that have been submitted. to the planning department, and they are currently in process. So the first one will be Stone Creek Industrial Center. This was submitted back in May, and they've received their first round of comments from our department. It's a tentative subdivision map and design review for 603,000 square feet of light industrial space off of Zinfandel and Baroque. Our next one is
Who's the developer?
DNS.
Okay.
Our next project is Bradshaw Village. They recently submitted back in June, and they've also received their first round of comments. That's for a tentative subdivision map, design review, and development agreement, as well as a zoning text amendment. It'll be 55 single-family homes located off of Old Placerville Road near Bradshaw, and that developer is, what's that called? Matson, Dave Matson, that's correct. Sorry about that. And our third project is Town Place Suites. They are currently in for design review for a 4-story hotel with 118 rooms off of Point East Drive. That was recently submitted in July, and they've received their first round of comments, and they do not have a council date yet. Lastly is the Anatolia Retail Center. That project was approved late last year for council. They are currently very close with completing their improvement plans, so hopefully they will be breaking ground soon. That's for a new commercial shopping center with 5 new commercial pads and 2 future commercial pads. That's located across Sunridge Plaza off of Sunrise Boulevard and Douglas Road.
I just hope they don't lose their, the tenants that they said they had committed for it, because it's taking so
It's
long.
taken a while, yeah. So I'll turn it over to Elizabeth for projects under
Can you click
construction.
for me?
Sure.
Thank you. So Homewood Suites is under construction. They poured their foundation this week. So in the next few weeks, we should see a little bit of vertical going up. That's a 4-story hotel that you approved last year with 105 rooms. BDX Apartments, there's not much to say. You've talked about it. But what I learned, what BDX stands for, is it's acronym for Bordeaux, which is their wine theme, which is why we liked it so much.
So I explained the business about our original grape streets and our streets being named for wineries around the world. So they thought that was really cool because they fit right in. No, they didn't know. They wouldn't have had any way to know.
That spurned their whole theme.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Mather Veterans Village 3, I think you know about this. So right now, they're under construction, and they're currently framing on the 3rd floor. Next. And Mather Veterans Village Phase 2, they should, it's coming soon, so hopefully by the first week of September, we'll break ground. And that is the tenant improvement for an additional 48 units.
What's going on with the, has anything been done yet on the inside of that building other than offices that are used right now for
No,
phase 1?
they'll start their tenant improvements probably the first week of September. So they're, yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe you could say the end of this month, but maybe September 1st.
We do have multiple subdivisions under construction right now. Sierra at Anatolia has opened their model homes, and they have a few residents already moving in. That will, when completed, that will have 139 single-family homes, ranging from 1,662 square feet to 3,000 square feet. That is out on the corner of Chrysanthi and Rancho Cordova Parkway. We also have Veranda under construction. They have their model homes open to the public as well. They have begun construction on their production homes, but none have yet been completed. When completed, that one will be 163 single-family homes, ranging from 1,542 square feet to 1,938, and that's directly across from Stone Creek Park. Last is the North Douglas subdivision. They've been under construction for a while now. They have model homes available to the public and lots of new residents out there. I would say they're probably about 75% completed and build out. Recently, on August 6th, we did approve the final residential village 8. That was the one that was here for design review. Once completed, that will have 666 single-family homes, approximately 400 feet. It'll be approximately 400 feet north of Douglas Road.
Can I ask a quick question? And I'm sorry if I missed it. Did you give an update on Cressley?
I'll give that.
Okay, thank you.
Very next slide.
Yep.
Or the slide after this slide. So just wanted to kind of remind you where we were and where we're going. So in terms of production homes, this is just a graphic that kind of shows you where we've building in what sequence. So, 2003 to 2005, we built 2,200 homes. I'm just talking about the production homes. And then the next time frame, 2005 to 8, we built 1,348. And then 2009 to 2011, it was a little bit of a slowdown, so there was 633 during that time period. Then it picked up again, 2012 through 2015, 1,100. And then recently, 2016 through current, about 678. So it just kind of gives you a history of where we've been and where we're going. And then the next slide is really going to tell you what you're going to see coming up in 2018 and 2019. And I did modify this slide from the one that you probably received in print because I wanted to put some unit numbers. So in this slide, you can kind of see where all the action is going to be happening over the next couple years is centered around mostly south of Douglas Road. The only one north of Douglas Road is Village 8 that Nick talked about, where we recently approved 62 units in North Douglas. Anthology was recently purchased by D.R. Horton, so they're submitting design review, and they have 102 units. Cressley is going forward with its first phase. You'll see all the grading that's happening out there. So Cressley's first phase is 214 units, and then you've heard about Douglas 98 and Grantline 208, so their first phases are 231 and 144 units. In Montelena, Premier Homes is going under contract to buy villages 9 and 10. So they have submitted design review for 169 units. And then Sundance, Regis Homes is going to do the improvements. And then we've talked with a proposed purchaser who would step in and buy the finished lots and build the homes. And there's 114. So if you look at all of those numbers combined, that's over 1,000 units that are going to be readily buildable in the next couple of years. Then if you take the later phases of all these units, right, the later phases of Douglas and Grantline and Montelena and Cressley, that's another 1,400 and roughly 50 units on the books. So, you're always interested in what's the buildable inventory. So this will take us out many years.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
On the previous slide, and you don't need to go back to it.
Or yeah.
Since you're there, it'd be really helpful. What is the total built-out units in this area outside of Stone Creek down here? So
okay.
the Sunrise Douglas area, people ask me that all the time, and I think I guess at like 3,000, and
It's more than 3,000 now, so I'm going to say all of those units on the screen right now are 6,000 units. So if we
and
were
that's
to,
including Stone Creek.
that
and
includes
Villages.
Stone Creek and Capitol Village. So if we were to take out Stone Creek and Capitol Village, 4,000 plus. I can do that number and email it out. But
So in another way of saying that, in the Sunrise Douglas area, we're at about 4,000 units, and you've identified another 50% more homes in the next handful of years if the
Yes.
economy continues to go the way it's going.
yeah,
Okay, so 50% built.
we have a pretty good build out in front of us. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then in the future, Sun Creek, I would say when we come back next year, the year after, we're going to be giving you similar examples for the first few phases in Sun Creek and Rio and
Okay, just to highlight a few of our completed projects, and these are just slight percentage of what we do. We do a lot of tenant improvements for new businesses that come in that you may not know that are coming into the city because you just don't see a lot of dirt moving. But just a handful is Sunridge Plaza. So the Rayleigh Shopping Center is pretty much complete. There is one pad site, but in terms of leasing, I believe they are almost fully leased at this point. New Kilgore soccer field is up and running, so we've been seeing a lot of action out there on the field. Practices are occurring out there. That's a recently completed project. J.J. Pfister Distillery, one of our distilleries that we have here, did some TIs, so they're up and running here now in the city. And Red Tail Technologies did a really fantastic job on the inside of this building. And they are looking at doing some additional improvements on the exterior here in the near future. So, like I said, these are just a small fraction of some of these new businesses that are coming into Rancho Cordova. So, I mean, as you can see from our presentation tonight, there's a lot of projects that are moving forward. The dirt is moving. We have a lot of new stuff on the horizon. So you'll be seeing a lot more action here within the city. So that concludes our presentation, and we can answer any questions.
Yeah, I have one. If you go back one, just from what was said earlier, this is what we're looking for to get the most up-to-date technologies you can find, and that's what's going to draw more businesses and new businesses into Rancho Cordova, because we don't, you know, as we were saying, we don't have something that's been there for a long time, and you can update it to a point, but when you've got something like this, it's really going to be a draw from the Bay Area, from maybe even out of state. When you have the most modern, up-to-date equipment and the technology is there, just waiting for them, then it's, I'm excited about that. That's really great to see that.
Any other questions?
Just one other thing, and thank you for the presentation. This was really kind of eye-opening to kind of get a snapshot. Just, I know Garrett and I have talked about this, and we have a lot of constituents that ask us, you know, when is another high school coming to town, or when are you getting a junior high, and that kind of stuff. And if you look at the kinds of development and like the spurts that we've had over the years, if it's about 4,000 units right now, it's got to be probably double. So we got to put another 100% more homes down there before we're really going to be on track for some of those other things. And again, that comes with other retail and other stuff as we get to it. But you know, doing what we can to spur residential development drives a lot of these other projects that we tend to ask about. I remember sitting here and our former colleague Dan Skoglund asking, you know, or pointing out, you know, I can't buy a suit in this town. But there's nowhere in this town that I can buy a suit. Part of that is having enough residents in this community with disposable incomes, and the fact that a lot of people don't wear suits anymore. But those types of amenities come when we support housing development, support our planning department in getting these things to come to fruition. And if you have not, and if you haven't seen the new Lennar models, go check them out, especially the one with its own ensuite with its own door is just.
The next gen.
Yeah, those are some amazing models that they have.
They
out
did
there.
a few next gen in Cavallo Ranch, but it's a really popular model, and they build them in almost all of their communities nowadays.
I just got to get 2 more jobs and I can buy one.
I will say this, you know, we're getting, I think the next tour that we're hoping to take you on is going to be our next entertainment venue that's coming to Rancho Cordova, which is a laser tag with bumper cars. So when that is
So we can knock
ready
that
to
off of the
go,
entertainment center
it's a
that we're trying to
TI that's happening right now over by Horn Road.
You mean you drive bumper cars around and shoot each other with lasers at the same
Well, they're
time?
actually separate facilities. You wouldn't do them simultaneously.
That is a great idea.
Yes.
But those are the type of TI improvements that you don't normally see, right? When Moss Adams sold that building, and Moss Adams, as an accounting agency, had to move out of that building, they moved into a White Rock Road building, and they completely renovated a whole floor, right? It's not as cool as Red Tail Technologies, but it's every bit as nice of an investment into an existing building in Rancho. So we'll do our best in the next updates just to highlight things like that for you.
Well, that's really important because David asked the question of Barry Broom, and obviously it's something we're going to talk about in the next presentation. But, what are your collective departments able to do in terms of encouraging these buildings? I mean, like, I suspect that the RMI building, because of its owner, is not a good example, but what's your role in trying to encourage people to remodel and renovate their buildings on a proactive basis so that they reinfuse them with an environment that people actually want to work in? Anybody?
Great question.
I think we work very closely with economic development, and we take all the opportunities that we have to work with our colleagues to, when folks do come in and they're looking for an opportunity to come here within the city, whether they're in existing space or they're looking for something new, we're looking and we're putting our creative hats on to try to get them into that space and to renovate it so that they stay in Rancho or they want to come here. So I think we're constantly trying to take a look at the code and think outside the box and see how it can work for our existing businesses and those that want to come here.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, 12.3.
12
Another
point-
team.
Economic Development Department update, discussion and possible direction on policies, strategies, and tools. Was there any public comment on item number 12.2?
Is there any public comment on item 12.2? Okay, the public says no. I'm so glad we have public.
Wait a minute,
Diane,
there's
did you
two
have any
public there,
comment? Oh. Team.
Good evening, Madam Mayor Kurt Haven, Director of Economic Development. With my team tonight is Amanda Norton, our Economic Development Manager, and Megan Huber, our Economic Development Business Liaison Extraordinaire. We have quite the team, and as we talk tonight, when we say we, as evident with the prior presentation, this is truly a city effort in economic development. And it starts with the City Council. We've always had a very strong City Council to support economic development and vitality in Rancho Cordova, our city management, and every staff member of the city, we all do economic development. So when you hear we, it's everyone. Tonight, we'd like to give you an update on our October 2016 council-approved economic development strategy. This is an update. If you want to change or direct or discuss maybe a different path, that's fine tonight. We're open to it. The quick agenda is we're going to start out with a market and regional update. It's always good to have new numbers and to understand what these numbers mean. We will then get into our 5-year strategy and talk about some of our goals and review some of our plan goals, our action plan review from September 17th through August 18th. And then we'll wrap it up with the economic development top 10, some issues that we're facing, and then some feedback that we're going to ask from you. So we'll start out tonight from Amanda, and she's going to talk about some numbers that are happening in our office and industrial workforce.
Good evening, members of the council. So over the next few slides, we'll cover a few trends. I know Barry Broom earlier this evening covered quite a bit that's going on in the region, but we'll talk a little bit more about what we're seeing in the city and that will reinforce the work that is accomplished in our strategic plan. So looking at the cities in Sacramento County, we have the second largest workforce outside of downtown Sacramento. And if you'll notice from this list, this data is provided by EMSI, the vast majority of the cities have government listed as a #1 industry. And it's really only Rancho Cordova and the city of Roseville that do not have government listed as #1. And this really underscores the Brookings Institute data that Barry also mentioned earlier, and the data presented by SACOG and Greater Sacramento, that we really need to focus on private industry investment. And between us and Roseville, we tend to be the cities that are actually focusing on that private investment. And when you look at office vacancy, we highlighted a few of the similar jurisdictions that we often are working with here. And we are represented by what they call the Highway 50 corridor. This represents roughly from Power Inn to Hazel Avenue. The second largest, so as I already mentioned, we're the second largest submarket outside of downtown Sacramento. The downward slope that you'll see right just before the 17 represents 349,000 square feet of net absorption in the past 12 months. That is a space that has been absorbed by local businesses. With a vacancy rate of 12.2%, we are still below our historical average of 13.3%. And what we are really known for in the region is our large floor plate office. And to give a little reference of what our vacancy rate represents, there are 7 properties in our region, or our area, with over 50,000 square feet of office. That means in those 7 spaces, that totals 661,000 square feet. So as a reference point, that 661,000 is a little more than a third of the total office space in either West Sacramento or in Elk Grove. So you have to realize that we are a large carrier of office space anywhere in the region. And we have 2 spaces that comprise over 300,000 square feet of office. So landing 1 tenant in that will decrease our vacancy rate. And at this point in time, we're really going to start looking to our development community that we're going to run out of space. I mean, it seems like it might be high, but really, in the office market, we are getting down to kind of the bare bones. And it was actually kind of a good thing where we've had some businesses be able to move in because of our available space. Slide. Oh, district vacancy. And then our market is really split between what is Mather and the Sunrise industrial areas. The Sunrise area is roughly Zinfandel to Prairie City, and the Mather is Zinfandel to Watt Avenue. Combined, these 2 areas have over 18.5 million square feet of industrial office space. The Power Inn industrial area, which is just to our west, has the largest square footage in the region, which is about 27 million square feet of industrial space. So if you combine Mather and Sunrise, that puts us ranked 4th in the region for industrial space. And you'll see from this graph, we have 2 of the lowest vacancy rates. And because of this low vacancy rate, we've started to see some construction of spec space that before they're even open, they're already leased by tenants. And we're starting to see some interest from the development community to actually build new spec industrial space, which we're not seeing hardly anywhere else in the region.
Good evening, members of City Council. Megan Huber with the City of Rancho Cordova Economic Development Department. Amanda just gave us a really great 30,000-foot perspective of the state of Rancho Cordova's commercial real estate market. And now we'd like to do a deep dive into both our 5-year strategy plan as well as what's been completed this past year with some highlights. As a reminder, all of the work that was presented from this point forward will reflect on the city's Economic Development 2016 Strategy Plan, as approved by City Council. The plan was crafted around a year of data collection in the form of one-on-one interviews, focus groups, and industry data collection. The goal was to have a really deep understanding of existing industry and develop a strategy from the data. The work categories of the strategy plan are listed on the slide. Business attraction, encouraging private business investment, business retention and expansion, providing small business retention and expansion services, network building, marketing, and visibility to generate pride, promotion, and fun, and collaboration within city services to streamline, advocate, encourage, and support. As we move through this presentation, we'll illustrate how the tactical work that we'll share with you ladders up to and moves the needle on our strategic plan goals. The feedback that our department received from City Council in November of 2016 was, while the strategy plan was broad and encompassing, Council would like to see a more tailored implementation plan with regular Council check-in and more opportunities for data sharing. In August 2017, the Economic Development Department sought Council input regarding focus areas for an implementation plan, and these are the immediate top 3 identified results. First, to catalyze 20 identified opportunity sites for possible development, public-private partnerships, etc. Second, to revitalize our office core areas with addition of amenities and services. And third, to identify top industry segments for proactive recruitment. And I'd like to share information on each of these three now. First, regarding opportunity sites, you can see on this slide, the map to the right is a list of 30 identified opportunity sites. The goal was 20, but as you can see, we got really enthusiastic and excited. It ranges from office to industrial to mixed use and retail. And these metrics are the result of the year of our work. So far, to date, 2 identified properties have been purchased by the city. 2 properties are in proposal stages. 3 properties are in development discussion. And 2 properties have landed new projects. This is a working document, and we'll be really excited to provide you continual updates next time around. For our second immediate goal, this has been a really great topic threaded through our entire evening's conversation so far, and that is to revitalize our office core areas. As Council Member Sander noted, we have the largest master planned office park in the Sacramento region. And in the square mile that we're sitting in, we represent over 20,000 jobs alone. So needless to say, this is very important real estate. Because it was a focus area for us, we really wanted to drill down and capture some firm analytics so we know what we're working with. And we started doing that by surveying our property community. So we talked to our brokers, we talked to our property managers, we talked to our owners to find out what they need, what they're hearing from our market, and how we can help. As a result of these discussions and data collection, we had some great success metrics as well. To give you a quick rundown on the numbers on the slide, we identified 2 new office park amenity enhancement projects. This wasn't necessarily started by the city, but once we found out about it, you can bet that we are chief cheerleader for those projects. You probably read about them in the Business Journal. They're associated with the 2 large campuses that just sit right across from City Hall. They were both recent acquisitions, so new owners. One is now owned by Basin Street Properties, and one is owned by Parmer West. And it's really exciting to watch and support because they are adding all sorts of amenities to be able to meet new workforce needs. What we heard from Greater Sacramento Economic Council today was that workforce now asks for a lot more. And in fact, it's not an ask anymore, it's a demand, because there are so many options in office real estate markets. So what we're seeing is addition of internal amenities from full-service cafeterias to full-service gyms, and also exterior amenities. So more focus on fun campus-style offerings. So you'll probably notice in the next few months as you drive around our campuses, the addition of oversized hammocks and bocce ball courts and all sorts of other fun stuff, which is really exciting to see. And we really feel like it speaks to the culture of Rancho Cordova as a corporate workforce destination.
Well, if they're going to put in hammocks, maybe they'll leave their trees alone.
I'll be sure to put in a good word, Mayor Budge. The next amenity that I wanted to review is that we added 4 new retail amenities and services. Now, this number might seem low based on all of the activity that you've seen happening around Rancho Cordova. The important differentiator here is that these were proactively recruited by our Economic Development Department. So very similar to private industry, how you have proactive and reactive sales. We're always available reactively to projects that want to come in and have a lot of history helping pull those through. These are projects that were sought out based on the fit for the market that we have to offer. So we're really proud of that, and we're proud that everyone is here. Finally, We have such amazing stuff going on, and I think it was kind of alluded to when our community development department presented the Red Tail Technology TI project. If you drive by Red Tail right now, it doesn't necessarily show from the exterior how fabulous they are on the inside. And we find that's a really common story. We have a lot of hidden gems here in Rancho Cordova, just waiting to be discovered. So we took it upon ourselves to help people discover them. We'll review our communication strategy implementation a little bit later in this slideshow, but what we wanted to show you now is that we put together a piece of collateral to be able to showcase the befores and afters of really amazing office renovation projects that are happening here in Rancho Cordova, to be able to paint a picture to both prospective companies who'd like to come in, how easy it is to get it done, and what kind of fruits of their labor they can enjoy once it is, and then also for people that are here to show them the potential that can be. Finally, our third item was to identify target industry segments for recruitment. We worked specifically with Greater Sacramento Economic Council. As Barry Broom noted, they have an extremely talented analytics division who helped us crunch these numbers. It was a two-prong approach. The first prong was a gap analysis. It was really important to us to see, based in numbers, if we were lacking in any particular industry segment, if we were dragging in the region compared to other local cities. And I'm really pleased to report that no, there was no gap identified in any particular industry segment. We are running right alongside all the other cities in our region. The second prong of this analysis was to identify the quickest growing industry segments based in job creation number over the last 10 years. And those 5 results you can see at the bottom of the graph. They are chemical manufacturing, utilities, security, commodity, contracts, financial investments, data processing, hosting and related services, and machinery manufacturing. When this information came through to us, we were really excited to see, because we know that manufacturing is a really important industry segment to Rancho Cordova, not only from a numbers perspective, but from a branding perspective. We really are a maker city at heart, and it's an industry that we want to continue to support, not only because we like it, but because we are actually growing year over year where other cities are declining in that segment. So this graph also reinforced that for us as well. Finally, while not a specific identified goal, we felt it was really important to touch on our business retention program results from this past year, because it is one of, if not the most important aspect of economic development, to make sure the companies that are here in our city are happy and healthy and will stay with us long term. So we've included a couple of metrics for you here. So far, calendar year to date, we've completed 94 business retention visits. We've uncovered 4 new expansion projects and supported them. And we've also held 7 different business events with various community partners. And we also included some highlight projects to the right that you might have seen in the press over the last year or so. So with that, we've reviewed our 5-year strategy plan goals, as well as how we have met our first-year action plan goals. Are there any questions so far?
Any questions so far? Okay.
Great.
Going.
So as you can probably allude, there is a lot more exciting stuff besides what's on our action plan. And we wanted to put together a really quick list for you so you know all of the exciting things that are going on within our city that are related to our commercial business community. The first is that we have a new top employer, definitely reaching within our top 10, if not our top 5 or top 3. Sometimes employment numbers are a little bit difficult to crunch, but we know this is a really significant employer for us. You probably saw in local press that Centene joined Rancho Cordova. This project was a really high-level project and involved a lot of community partners to be able to recruit and pull through. We've included a timeline here to illustrate exactly what kind of lift it was over what kind of time period. And it was expedited beautifully between regional recruitment to city services to TI permits and getting them in. So everyone here at the city had a big part in pulling this through to success. And as you can see, there are amazing numbers to be able to speak to that. So when Centene joined us, they added about 1,500 employees, but total jobs, once we count vendors and associated services, is about 2,600 jobs created with a total economic impact of $327 million. So needless to say, we are very excited they are here. Another exciting update, we have 2 new hotels joining us in Rancho Cordova. When we did our 2016 strategy plan, we executed a niche market study, and accommodations and related services were one of our top 5 industry segments. Currently, we have 16 hotels, adding up to about 2,100 hotel rooms in the market. And these 2 additions will add 223 rooms. When we crunch those numbers, the addition adds about $605,000 to our transient occupancy tax and almost $100,000 to our T-bid funds that go to help fund Rancho Cordova travel and tourism.
Megan, what did you say was the total number of rooms?
So the 2 hotels will add 223 rooms total. The market right now has about 2,100. So it'll sit at 23.
And to put in perspective, last I heard count in the city of Sacramento had about the same number as we do.
The city has more based on the big box guys in city core, but I would say that we are one of the largest suburban markets. And we certainly have occupancy to match that. Year to date, it's reported that occupancy is averaging about 81%. So we have a really healthy tourism market.
Yeah. So Donald, when we incorporated, we had 47% of the hotel rooms in the county here in Rancho Cordova because of the business community. But then, of course, what's happened in the meantime, they've built things out in Natomas at the intersection of 5 and 80, and then the 3 or 4 new hotels in Folsom. So that changed the percentages, the ratios a little bit, but still, because when in the 80s, when I started, I had a client in Newport Beach, and of course that was when Rancho Cordova was really just growing, Prospect Park in this in this area, but Newport Beach was exactly where we are today. They had all those office buildings, and they had tons of hotels, and next door to every hotel was a restaurant, and of course, nobody had anything like Cat Village, where we now have 17 restaurants all in one block. But that was when I was first impressed by the fact that every time you have clusters of people coming to work, especially companies that are headquartered in all over the United States or maybe all over the world, these people all need a place to stay when they show up in town.
And Mayor Budge brings up another great point as far as timeline goes. For Rancho Cordova hotel history, this is actually the first hotel product that's been added in over 20 years. So that tells us that we've really hit a pivotal point, a threshold for new hotel development, which is really exciting for us. That was a great question, David. Great question. So we'd also like to provide you an update on our commercial facade improvement program. This was a line item in our strategy plan, and council approved the plan guidelines in August 2017. The application process was designed, implemented, and went live in December 2017. And as of this month, we have 2 applications approved and 3 pending. Which is all fine and good, but what I really love about this update is the before and after pictures. These are our 2 completed applicants, Eco Liquor and B&J Auto Body, both on Folsom Boulevard, and you can see they both had parking lot renovations.
Well, I wondered what you were trying to show, because to me, it looked like Eco Liquor was gone, which we've been trying to accomplish, but on the other hand,
We
I
fretted
mean, it's
a
just
little
not
bit
there
over that.
anymore. So
there was some, angle differences between the before and after, so we had to work with what we had for sure. But rest assured, the building is still there. So emphasis on parking lot beautification.
But the next 3 are what? Tell me what the next 3 are.
Yeah, I would just say that I do a lot of before and afters because we flip houses for my nonprofit. Yeah, it is really important to stand in the same places.
Yes, yes.
Or just like you thought, is the improvement that we knocked the building down?
Yeah, I
Because it's
mean-
not in the second picture.
work for me.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And the other thing we have been working, no, I think I turned it on. Can you hear me now? Is our property business improvement district. For everyone who's watching at home, this is a district in which case property owners agree to tax themselves, and all the money that's generated from that goes to support the property owners in a very designated location, and they set their own board. They determine how that money is funded. So we have partnered with Civitas to explore looking at a bid. We have gone out to our community. There is definite interest in it. Unfortunately, we did not get enough ballots to get on this election cycle. That said, we are working very closely with the chamber and our other partners to get the steering committee to get back together, engage their interest, and we have a meeting set up coming up here in September. So during our next update, we'll have more information on this going forward. But this was a really big push in our business retention avenue in our strategic plan. And Rancho Cordova has landed our first co-working space. So this really falls into so as you're probably aware, you've seen co-working spaces sprout up around the region. And co-working is growing as a new generation of entrepreneurs, consultants, freelancers, and corporate organizers as they kind of rethink their overhead and the cost of business as well, and they really focus on the value of collaborative work. So co-working isn't just fun for startups and entrepreneurs. Really what we're also seeing that's starting to happen in the co-working space is you're having established smaller businesses not wanting to dedicate any additional resources to their own facilities. And going back to our hotel numbers, we're also seeing corporations that are looking for additional workspace solutions. When their folks are coming in from out of town, sometimes they'll operate within their corporate campuses. Other cases, they'll have them set up at different co-working locations to actually be able to run out of there. So this is great for us because it provides a value not only in professional networking, it also helps from people who are working at home and are looking for additional avenue that's outside the local coffee shop. And Hacker Lab is opening. We've been working with them since August of 2017. They completed a feasibility study and we're looking for some sites. As part of that feasibility study, one of the things that they uncovered is that we have a gentleman here in town who had his own machining shop that was already in operation. And so he's a professor over at Sierra College, and they were actually able to partner and be able to open part of their organization just using his machine shop that was already out there. And it was something that we probably wouldn't have uncovered had they not had the funds to do the feasibility study and get open. And really, people who are operating out of these spaces, they all look a little different, they all operate different, and they all want to be different. They recognize that the people who go to their co-working space might look different than the ones who go to another co-working space, and that's also very important. But they also really see this collaborative effort in a unique way that they could share skill sets. So if they know how to do something, this is really what they focus on. They want to make sure that they make that happen for their people. And Darcy earlier in community development spoke to how we all work together, and the functioning of our barrel district, I think, really shines across various city departments and how we all work to make this happen. We worked really closely with the planning department to modify some of our zoning ordinances to make it easier for breweries, wineries, and distilleries to open within the city. We are one of the, we exhibit every year at the annual California Craft Beer Summit, and then we created a barrel district. So this was working with our communications team, planning team, and the building team to make sure that when these businesses came in, they had a welcome presence and they felt happy and wanted to be here. And from this, we've also executed on some placemaking initiatives. If you drive out there, there's actually banners, as you'll see up there, showcasing where every member is located. And then coming up this fall, we're working closely with the Chamber, who is hosting the inaugural event on October 6th. If anyone hasn't bought tickets yet, they're available on Ticket Spice, little plug. But what's really unique about that is, unlike other events where they go out to a location, this is actually bringing people into their location. So they'll get to see what Rancho Cordova is about and what each of these businesses is about, which is very unique in this market.
Another area that we spent a significant amount of time on that we're really excited about is the creation of a communication strategy specifically for economic development. We created a full suite of collateral to speak to different audiences. This could be potential residents and workforce, or site selectors, or brokers. And the pieces that we've created really highlight the things that make Rancho Cordova unique, both quantitatively and qualitatively, and target demographics that we are looking to reach. So it's our goal to proactively tell the Rancho Cordova business story through this communication strategy plan, and we created a diverse suite of collateral to be able to make that happen. In addition to the collateral, we also put together press kits to use for proactive solicitation and marketing, and we have increased our news bureau activity. So instead of allowing other folks or organizations to tell the Rancho Cordova story, we have identified it proactively and pushed it out into media channels, which is really exciting as well. Another goal of the Economic Development Department, specifically in collaboration with city services, is to help support development services. Through the course of spending time with our colleagues in the Community Development Department and also with people coming in looking for business help, we identified a few low-hanging fruits that we could easily execute to create ready-made tools to have ready assistance available for folks. There are some samples there up on the screen for you. These are also readily available at our front counter and on all of our websites. The first is a new business checklist. This is actually a small snapshot of the tool. It's about 11 by 17 checklist that covers all the departments that a business would need to speak to in order to plant within the city. So it's a really easy to use tool to move through step by step and help someone who might not know their way around development services otherwise. The second piece is about the PASS program. This is a collaboration with the Greater Sacramento Economic Council in order to elevate the PASS program into a higher awareness to our development communities. For those not familiar, the PASS program helps expedite the development process by using certified designers that have ready-to-go checklists to be able to ensure that plans that do come in-house are ready to go, if not almost ready to go, and helps expedite that process. So Greater Sacramento Economic Council collaborated with all of the cities in our region to put together this collateral piece to be able to succinctly and effectively communicate that program to potential users. Finally, in economic development, we get a lot of questions about what we do, and a lot of it involves collaboration with our internal partners. So we decided to put this into a visual tool using that business assistance program umbrella. That's the piece that you'll see on the right-hand side. And it's a quick identification tool to show all of the services that are here within the city to potential and existing businesses. And again, that's available on all customer-facing counters as well as on our website. And we're really excited to use all of these tools to help businesses.
And to kind of wrap this up, none of this would be possible without our community partners, so we want to make sure we listed them. The Greater Sacramento Economic Council, you heard from Barry earlier. A lot of time spent with them on business attraction. Our Small Business Development Center, SBDC, lots of tools there that are involved, and we can help businesses and direct them that way. Our favorite one is our Rancho Cordova Chamber of Commerce. And we meet about every 2 weeks with Diane and her staff and work on projects very closely together. Thank you, Diane, for your assistance, of course. The Sacramento Metro Chamber of Commerce, Valley Vision, and also SCORE, Society of Retired Executives. And again, our businesses can gather a lot of materials and knowledge from them. So one issue that we're looking for feedback tonight, and there's another slide that, if there's more, is our revolving loan and business incentive programs. We've marketed this to over 100 retail, commercial, and industrial brokers, management companies, and property owners. And also some of our partner organizations like GSAC. We've had different events at SBDC and our seminars that we've put in the city. And we've done also direct marketing. The results from September 17th through August 18th, we've had 17 leads with 5 applications submitted and 1 application approved. This is for our loan program, not so much the grant program. Both. It's both, but I mean, my questions are mainly, is it going to be about the loan program? Some of the barriers that we have in our loan program is the applicant's credit or inability to meet underwriting qualifications. We have our own underwriter at the city that we use to review the qualifications. So, you know, he does a background check on the company, the credit worthiness of them, their business plan, do they pay their taxes, things like that, that we want to know before we put our money out there. A lot of times interested businesses do not meet the job or sales tax generation guidelines that are currently in our program. And then the big one is always when government's money is involved is prevailing wage and how that changes the cost or look of the loan or the grant. So these are some of the challenges that we're having. I think I have addressed this one time with you, and the reason I'm bringing it to you now is because there is community enhancement funds that you gave us. So there's money that the city council has put into our economic development group. And we are asking that maybe we talk to our local banks where we've used the RISE program, and on the loans parts of this, the grant parts we can manage, but on the loan part of this, you know, is this something that we could partner with our 2 banks that have the RISE program and actually work with them on business loans?
Okay, well, that needed to be the first question. You know, what happened to that particular program? Your middle one, job or sales tax generation guidelines, you should remind us what those are, because we probably don't know that sitting right here.
I do. Go ahead.
So we don't have any, so how we have it structured right now is we look heavily to see if there's either job generation or sales tax generation.
Right.
So in some cases it works better specifically for like a retail business. We're obviously looking for probably larger businesses to come in versus smaller ones. And that also factors in really heavily to line item number 1 is the larger ones have the better credit and can meet underwriting guidelines. They're not applying to our programs. And the smaller ones, that's the challenge, is that they have fewer employees. And so looking at the amount of money they're asking for versus what the city would receive in return in terms of job generation or sales tax is low, and trying to work out that balance and the return on our investments.
Okay, but
If you're asking if there's a set
Well-
number, we're saying if you have 5 or more or over a certain amount or more, we don't have that in the guidelines currently.
Okay, so on the one hand, what you just said sounds a little bit like it almost excludes locally grown retailers or small restaurants, which is something that, you hear, I can't say that we've heard it here, but you hear from people all the time that they don't want chains, they want local. And if you look at the people who've gone in out at Rayleigh's, it's like 50% of them really are locally grown as opposed to a chain, like, even Jim Boy's is local, but, and the, oh goodness, Bark Avenue and the health products people.
Evergreen
and-
Nutrition. Mhm.
Yeah, so, so if you don't have specific numbers in terms of number of jobs or sales tax generation, then how do you know what the cutoff is?
So usually what we also look at, for example, one application asked for a particular dollar amount, and when we looked at when the city would receive enough sales tax to kind of, for lack of a better term, pay back that investment in there.
Or to justify it.
It,
Right.
we were looking somewhere, I want to say it was about 15 years. So that became like, okay, well, is that the best way to use city dollars? And then when it got into the underwriting, they're like, hey, where's the need? And we started functioning in the need, and he has his own set of guidelines on how that functions. So that was some of the challenges we've come across.
Okay, and so you're still, and even with the program like the 2 preferred banks?
This application did not apply through the RISE program. They applied directly through the city. And usually at that point in time, they weren't asking for a loan, they were asking for a grant.
Okay.
So,
Okay, Donald.
so a couple of things. So one, if I put my banker hat on, the RISE program is going to retroactively look at the business that they're doing in Rancho, which is mainly real estate loans. That's really who we deposited money with. So there's not a Rancho Cordova product for someone to go in and say, I'm a business in Rancho Cordova, give me some of their money. They legally can't do that. But I think a really interesting thing that you just brought up, that we've had conversations, it's been a few years now, of a CDC or trying to find a CDFI that we can work with. And I know we had SedCorp at one point. They are no longer with us, correct?
Correct.
And they're no longer in business, as far as I understand. So that was Sierra Economic Development. So there's still 2 CDFIs that do small business lending in town, which is Opening Doors, still very small, and then California Capital. But it also might be of interest to look at some other folks, OBDC, which is, I think, Oakland Bay Development Corporation. There's a couple other ones that we could talk to, or maybe it's time for the city to look at establishing something like that and having that separate entity. I think the last time that we talked about this, the reasoning, in my opinion, to not do it was we didn't have some barrier that the city couldn't handle itself. But if we are to that point to where if there was a separate entity or loan fund that could raise private dollars to where it wasn't government, you see what I'm saying? That has more flexibility. I think my biggest fear in making this suggestion is, I think the same thing that David brings up a lot when we talk about administering certain programs, is that the barriers that government creates because it's their money or it's their program, or politicians like us getting involved in making decisions on who's getting capital. But I think there might be some other opportunities to look at besides just the way we've done a handful of these loans that might make a lot of sense to have either another partner or a whole nother entity that either we're creating or someone else is creating. And that could be a CDC, a CDFI, or finding a CDFI that we want to work with that knows how to do this already, and either bring them here or convince them to set up shop here or to grow with us. And again, there are 2 pretty good ones in town, whether or not they can handle what you're looking for. But again, that RISE program, I mean, if we went to American River Bank, we went to 5 Star, I mean, what they specialize in, as far as I understand, is not I think the things that that you've been struggling to find ways to deploy capital in.
That's a good point.
I mean, knowing my understanding of their business, they do SBA, they do other things like that. There's no way to tie back our deposit to say, okay, well, now they can take this risk. SBA is SBA. They're gonna fit into that insurance program, and they're only gonna underwrite what they're allowed to underwrite. And so you got to be in business for 3 years. You got to do so. That, one thing that I've always wondered if we could do. And again, I don't know how you do it with a federally regulated bank, but you could do it with a CDFI is, underwrite this loan, we can guarantee it, we can add more funds to your loan loss reserve. What are those other things that we can do to take risk and cost away from a loan product? And a CDFI has way more flexibility in doing that than a federally regulated bank that the OCC or FDIC or Federal Reserve come in and say, you shouldn't have made that loan or you can't make that loan. That's literally how stringent it is on what they can do and what they can't, but there are those lending partners out there that we might be able to work with to do it.
Yeah, that was in the conversation with the company mentioned earlier, who's no longer in business. Oh. Before we were working with SEDCOR and looking at working with SEDCOR, we were looking at doing a loan loss reserve with them, but unfortunately, they're no longer with us.
Yeah, and the tough thing with a lot of the really good ones in Northern California is they're in rural communities, and their charter says they have to operate in those counties. Yeah. There's a great one in Chico, another one in Yuba City. They are in just those counties. So I don't know how we convince them to come down here. SEDCorp was kind of the one. But even they were founded to work in rural communities. So again, there's still 2 other ones. How flexible and sophisticated they can be with this, I think, is something we can talk offline about. But I think we finally have probably a reason to do something like this that I think the last time we talked about it, where we really wanted to see development and a bunch of other stuff that just didn't fit with what we're running into. If you're really talking about small business lending, it might be time to pull the trigger.
There used to be one in Solano County, and they actually worked as far in this direction as West Sacramento because of the.
Remember the name?
Solano Economic
Development Corporation?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those
As a
are
matter of fact, a friend of our former city managers, who was a former city manager in Vacaville or somewhere, was the executive director.
So those are founded usually as JPAs with counties. So there's the San Joaquin Partnership and a handful of other ones. We run into the same issue. Just like 3 Corps is based in Chico and it's for 3 counties, it started as a JPA. That's where they're allowed to operate based on their charter and their mission. So to change that at the CDFI and at the local level is always really tough.
It also sounds like you still have the prevailing wage issue if it's a JPA with governments.
I don't know. I don't know enough about how prevailing wage would work to do that. But what I would tell you is that beyond just us putting money into a fund, we could ask investors such as the region or the Region Rise banks to make investments into funds like that and other things to capitalize a fund.
Because they can't give money. They can't give money because they're federally regulated. So David and I always had that problem. We want that. There's that 5% of Rancho businesses that are just on that edge that could really be successful if they could just have that extra flip.
Well, and that's why. So a CDFI, for those who don't know, is a community development financial institution. I work for one. They focus on housing, not small business. But the reason that they exist is to deploy alternative capital to businesses or individuals that wouldn't normally be able to qualify for in some way. They're not supposed to be making bad loans. They're just supposed to be making the loans that banks can't for whatever reason. But banks are incentivized by the Community Reinvestment Act to make investments into these types of funds to allow that organization to deploy capital and to lend to businesses and individuals that wouldn't normally get it.
Sounds a lot like money laundering.
We will look into that.
I was a CRA officer for many years, and I didn't and do not launder money.
Well, the concept of enhancing Rise so that the firms that are right on the edge, you just missed it by half a point.
Yeah, but the problem is from the regulatory side, we can't. Because we can't make a bank or incentivize a bank to make a loan that they're not supposed to.
No.
So you can't change the lending standards.
Supposed to?
No, that you want
That's an
them
internal
to.
decision that they make, right? Supposed to.
No, in the end, a lot of times their regulators will come in and rate their investments and their loans, and whether or not they should or shouldn't have been doing that from a risk analysis standpoint. So a lot of the very large banks, it's easier to explain when you looked at Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, and a couple other ones in the last like 3 months. 2 of them didn't pass their stress test. Even local banks have those. And if they are making too many risky loans that aren't performing, they can get things called cease and desist to where they can't make loans for 6 months. Regulators can just decide they shouldn't have been doing some of the things that they were doing.
Think back to the Bell Savings and Loan stuff.
Exactly.
It's odd, though, because I did have this exact discussion with the CEO of a bank, and he said, absolutely, we can do that. So we should sort that out a little.
Yeah, from a compliance standpoint, to go in and say, here's something that we wouldn't do except somebody gave us money to do it.
So we've had those same.
That's not usually something that you can just go do.
We've had those same discussions with the CEOs of the 2 banks, and they were talking more about equity lines. So if we had large equity lines, and take RISE away, but we had a large equity line in a bank that could be used as equity for a loan, that might change how they look at the loan. But that discussion we had once.
So because basically it's us taking on the risk, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to the bank having the additional risk.
If we're signing a letter of credit, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
That's saying if this doesn't work, you're paying us back.
So what we really need is another bank, the one you said, and ask our banks of RISE to put money in that, and that's not, and they can do the risky, well, not risky, but kind of loans, correct?
The purpose of CDFIs that are making small business loans are to lend them traditionally to businesses and projects that wouldn't normally be something within their wheelhouse. Something that wouldn't be within the credit rating, the number of years that they need to be operating for an SBA or other things like that. But SBA is an SBA. Like, you need 3 years. Everybody needs 3 years. It's a fair lending issue. You can't just go in and, well, because so-and-so made a deposit into my bank and they really want me to do that, I can ignore that insurance policy, which is what SBA is. So there's not a way to just move those along, but the banks also get CRA credit for making these investments into these types of funds too. So there's probably a way to inspire them to take a look at those types of investments as well.
Well, it might
if
be
we had a willing partner too, and that's not that easy in this region, unfortunately, for this type of lending.
It's probably fair to say that if you all came up with ideas on how to tackle those last 3 barriers, that we would absolutely be interested in modifying our program in whatever ways that it needed to be to help get your success rate from 1 back to 17.
Great suggestion. We'll come back to you with more ideas. Last slide. So this is just general feedback on our market and regional update, our economic development top 10, any feedback or questions on our 5-year strategy, and the action plan.
Okay, so let's ask the same question. And I know you had some slides on it, but how successful are you with the goal of getting property and building owners to proactively renovate their spaces so that people want to inhabit them because they're going to be a pleasant workplace?
So as you remember, you and I cut our teeth on a program just like that, the Chamber Pre-Cityhood. Government money is really not that easy to give away. It comes with a lot of strings and a lot of paperwork and a lot of questions.
Well, and the prevailing wage was the worst one because that rebate was actually a rebate. You couldn't get anything back until you had spent it.
And as Megan's slide showed, it took about a year to get this project going with the application process, approval through legal, et cetera. And we really haven't had a full year of marketing. And I would like to really market that a lot more aggressively through code enforcement, through, like we did it before, boots on the ground and actually knocking on doors and
marching
offering
up and
this.
down the boulevard.
But, what we're finding is prevailing wage is an issue. We have we do have a sheet on that and how it works and who does what and whose responsibility it is. I'd like to have at least 1 more year's worth of really just marketing that program because I still think we'll get more money put out. So I feel good about the grant program. It's the loan program that is the one that's kind of stopped, and we'll come back to you with some ideas on that.
Well, personally, I really liked your, some of the slides about collateral and the advertising and the did you know these facts about Rancho Cordova? And I love the one about the blue one about the checklist for business. I can't think of any other question that I would have had to ask as a consultant that is not on that list.
We have a
So,
sample of that for you
kudos,
also.
guys.
Thank
That
you.
was good.
Thanks.
Linda, I also wanted to add, when you talked about how we're able to get people to modernize their space, looking at Red Tail, how that started was when we were recruiting them, one of the things we did is we went out with them and some other real estate brokers and toured them through some recently renovated space. So VSP and Barco and a
Right.
couple others. And from that, especially from the brokerage community, they were like, hey, I saw this building 10 years ago. I can't believe what it looks like now.
Super.
And so they're able to keep telling that story to all their tenants coming through. And that's why Red Tail was able to say, like, okay, I now have a vision of what this could look like. And I'm looking at what Barco has done. It's fantastic space in there. And then they were able to visualize what their space has turned into, which is a Class A and just office space. It's beautiful.
Okay, super. And I think we all appreciate your adding assets to the business district in creative places. We just need them to be, we just need a few more of them. We need a few more corner stores like specialty. And oh, by the way, they really might stay open beyond 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Because my neighborhood keeps complaining about it. And what happens, you know, when they're not open at the beginning and people complain, then after a while, everybody gets used to the fact that they're not open beyond 4, and they totally forget about them. So it strictly becomes a place that people who work right there go to eat, and nobody else in the neighborhoods. And the whole point, the whole reason behind building neighborhoods is so that you can walk back and forth to work, and so that, oh, by the way, you have things that the people who work there can take advantage of. You know, that's why, I mean, when we stood out there and General Baldwin said, he said, how could we not have stayed close by? You can walk to 30 restaurants. You know,
So
that's
amenity,
exactly what we want to be known for.
that's true.
At the California military headquarters.
So amenity building is a big highlight of our leadership meetings, our land use meetings, working with community development, public works, having ideas on how do we create big entrances to our bike trail system, how do we highlight the amenities that we have, what new ones do we need. We recently had a meeting with the city manager with a very aggressive young broker who says, you know, Rancho's cool, but it could be cooler if you did this. And we took those on days, we wrote them down, and we're working with city staff and to make, you know, to grow our amenities. I mean, a lot of us remember when there was 6 restaurants in Rancho Cordova. Now you have a lot of choices. I want to do more than that. I want it to be a place where people want to come to work, to drive their vehicle, that's fine also, ride a bike, walk, take, you know, our shuttle system. But as they walk through there, there's cool signs, there's cool directional, the pavement is clean and well marked. And these are things that amenity building is very important to attract this type of office user that we're looking for.
Yeah, this is no longer the big burrito.
No. Any other feedback or questions?
Yeah, I got a couple. Can you go to the 5-year strategy review thing? Back.
Where do you aim it?
I found a sweet spot.
All right. All the way back. So tell me, what is your 30-foot, what is Rancho's economic development 30-foot view strategic plan? What are you guys trying to accomplish? What do you think? Where do you want us to be? What's our big plan? Because I wasn't here in 2016. Came right in at the end. So what is our big strategic plan?
What's what the city council wants. So early on in city life, the city council gave direction. We wanted to be a city and not a suburb. So we took up what items does it make a city. So a vibrant workplace, vibrant residential, entertainment, groceries, et cetera. So these are all the pieces that make a city vibrant. We took all those pieces and we broke them down. So housing, what were we lacking in housing? We needed to create new housing, executive housing, vice versa, bring our houses close to our work. Same thing in our business parks. We've looked at maybe putting more retail or commercial or even residents in our business parks. And how do we incorporate having a denser business park to be more denser so that we can attract things like, a better bus system or a better transit system. So these are all moving parts. I'm not sure if it's 30 foot, it could be 300 feet some days, and other days it's 30 foot. But that's kind of how I have always viewed economic development. It's not just how many jobs and what did you create. It's about the resources of the community and the standard of living that the community has, and then how we rate ourselves against other communities. And if we're different, use that different to our advantage. So our difference has always been our jobs. Use that to our advantage. How do we grow Rancho Cordova jobs? How do we bring new housing to Rancho Cordova? How do we bring more amenities, restaurants, entertainment, et cetera? So they're all movable pieces. So it started, I think, to me, economic development started with the council's vision of we want to be a city, not a suburb.
Do you know if our sales tax has gone up, by how much, and how much revenue we bring in for the city?
I don't have the sales tax numbers off the top of my head, but I would be happy to provide that to council.
Garrett, I can tell you that every time you hear sales tax projections for entities that are funded by sales tax, like STA, like Measure A and whatnot,
Right.
that they're always quite handsome. You know, the sales tax generation is exceeding everybody's annual projections are still fairly conservative because nobody wants to overestimate. But it seems like for at least 3 years now, those projections have always been exceeded by at least 2%.
Oh, okay.
Well, and even if we looked at Measure H, as we did the campaign, we thought we were going to collect 5 million year one, and it was 7, and we're up to 8 by now, and it's been 3 years.
Right.
So that would be, I don't know, a 60%
Yeah.
increase over estimates.
Yeah.
So what do you consider full success for our economic development team, and what as us as a council can we do to help you hit that goal?
These good questions. Full success. I think a balance in Rancho Cordova, of which we're getting closer to. Again, our jobs to housing balance was off. We used to have more jobs than homes. We're getting closer to that now. A higher family income level is making it much easier to attract businesses and the restaurants and the amenities and the theaters that we want to see because of our new housing. That's really important. I also think that we have to be very diligent in how we maintain blight and how we keep the city clean and safe. So I think we're doing a great job with, our code enforcement and also with our police. I mean, I can go on and on. Maybe you guys have something to offer. Again, I'm not the economic development director that's going to give you numbers. Okay, I'm the economic development director that's going to look at the whole city and the whole standard of life in the whole city. Our existing residents, our new residents, the people that come here to work, and the people that invest in this community, and especially the people who invest in this community. There are many investors in the community who have millions and millions of dollars of their money in our community. So we got to make sure that they're happy and that we don't put rules and regulations and bureaucracy in their way so that they can feel comfortable to continue to invest in Rancho Cordova. So that's another portion that I feel very important. That numbers are good, ratios are good, percentages are good. We have good numbers, and we could spend more time on those, but I'd rather talk about policies and direction and, higher level type of entities.
Garrett, it's interesting when Independence opened at Mather, KB was selling, they were selling at a rate that exceeded any other new community opening that they had ever experienced in the United States, just KB. And so, we all probably thought that was going to continue. And it did up until 2007 or 8 or so, and everybody fell off a cliff. So for me personally, being so attractive and such a fun place to live would be that our home builders were getting back to that situation would be a good measurement for me.
I agree.
That's a good one.
Because, any way you look at it, the quicker that Elliott sells out, and I always call it Trentino, it's not, it's Veranda. The quicker Elliott sells out Veranda, the quicker he has to go across the street to Rio del Oro.
Right, and start building all the infrastructure, which everyone else is
Yeah.
piggybacking on.
Because it's pretty, it just seems so obvious that he's trying to build out the paper lots he's already got approved before he starts on a new community.
So those investors, and we heard it earlier from community development, one community is 7,000 homes, the other one's 8,000 homes, the other one's 9,000 homes, millions and millions of dollars in investing. They have to be comfortable with this is the community to invest in. And it's about jobs, it's about housing, it's about amenities, and it's about community. And that's what we, the city, touch all of that. And the goal is to make sure that we have a high standard to keep attracting people like that to invest in our community.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bob?
I'm thinking what we're doing for the city, what we started with, what we're doing right now, we've been able to achieve quite a few things, but we're after something better. And I always see the city as just like your home. You're never going to be completely satisfied with it. There's always going to be something else that needs to be done. Or just like the businesses where those offices, you need to update them. You need to, there's always something that will need to be done, but you need to be on top of it, and you are. So you're paying on top, and you have other people coming in, like the young man that said, "Yeah, you're good, but," and you're using that idea that he had. New people have ideas, and that's one of the nice things that we listen. So you have to keep on listening to what the people are saying, because it's like, as you said, you want to have people who are willing to invest and then continue to invest because they see the good return from what they're doing. You have to have that. So no, I'm very happy with what we've been able to do so far with this first 15 years. I'm looking at the next 15 years. But there's going to be something else that'll come back. Just like you do your house and it looks great, I'm done. Well, yeah, but your roof really needs to be either repaired or replaced. And there's always something else that needs to be done. But it can be done in a better way if you pay attention. And we have to keep on paying attention. You guys are doing a great job doing that.
Anything else? David? Okay. So have we been any help?
Well, I think you've been a great help, again, very supportive. You've reaffirmed that our strategy goals that we're on I think that we're on target, and that we want to continue working with business attraction, retention, build our marketing, our visibility, and continue to collaborate with cities. So I feel strong about that. We'll come back. We've had meetings with finance and also a couple of banks. We'll come back to you with some ideas on the loan program, and maybe Mr. Terry can give us some more advice. We'll come back to you with that. Is there any other information or programs that you might be interested for us to come back with?
Curtis, probably 2 years ago, a couple of us had lunch with Barry at the time, and he was talking about recruitment incentives. Mainly it would be like, businesses located somewhere in North State, they don't have adequate internet, they're too far from the bay, whatever it is. They need to be here, but their physical cost of moving was the barrier. Mm-hmm. 75,000, 50,000, 100,000. He had a couple of examples. At the time, we thought, boy, if we could pool, maybe with other cities in the region, resources to facilitate that, or even do it on our own in partnership with them. That might be a way to just continually add small businesses, some of whom are going to grow big. So I'm wondering if there's any follow-up on that or additional thoughts on that sort of
Well,
strategy.
What's interesting is we are known as the city who has funding. It's known that we have Measure H dollars. The council has given us investment dollars. That's known. So we do get a lot of calls or questions about, if this happens, then what would you do? I think that all has to be case by case, and we have to look at what the return to the city is going to be. We don't want to be known as a city who gives away money foolishly. We want to be known as the city who helps and, helps that business get over that bump, as you spoke to before. So we would be open to all that. I know in discussions with the city manager, we're open to that. It's a case-by-case business. And Barry and his group are very aware to not turn down any deals because we are open to discussion. So that was made really clear. We won't agree to, a dollar amount right now, but we're open to any discussion on any project that makes sense.
Good.
Let me know when you find that business that started in a garage here in Garage. That'll be good.
There's a lot in Rancho Cordova.
Will you be the only one in town?
We go out door to door to a lot of walks in Rancho Cordova. It's amazing the businesses that we found. Just where Hacker Lab was, and walking around before the city manager and I left for other time was, there's a motorcycle rental company there. There is a air conditioning special. There's a glass company. There's one, I'm not sure yet what it is, but I'm going to go find out. And there's an antique store around the corner. It's incredible the types and varied businesses that we have in Rancho Cordova. And we spend a lot of time just in the trenches, meeting them, talking with them, seeing what their needs are.
Assuming that the Metro Chamber is doing their business walk, or continuing that program, it sounds like you all don't wait for that annual event to come along. You just do it all the time. So, I suspect that any of us would be willing to go with you on any of these if the timing works out. I mean, Micah and I were going to go call on Barco, but it happened to be the week, as a part of the Chamber's walk around, but it happened to be the week that they were doing their TIs. So I've never been to Barco.
You can come with us for our annual leadership, the economic development module. We tour Barco every time we do the module. So
Oh, super.
I'll take us with you.
Okay.
Does anybody know about the Metro? Do they still have the?
I believe some cities still participate in the annual business walk. However, some of the cities have kind of branched off and started looking, as we've discussed internally, of picking maybe an industry instead of meetings and doing an industry-specific business walk, so that way we can get a better feel for kind of what's going on at that period of time with those guys specifically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because Micah and I specifically targeted what we went to. We didn't just take a street and march down the road. Oh, Diane, please, join us.
Diane Rogers with the Chamber of Commerce. Sac Metro hasn't done any outreach on doing any business walks in probably 5 or 6 years. I know that a lot of the communities are starting to do them on their own. I know Folsom does, Roseville does, but they haven't reached out. And that program that they used to have where they would collect all the data and put it all together, they haven't done that. I'm pretty close to 5 years. So if that's something you'd like us to explore doing collaboratively here, we could certainly do that. But their program's no longer, at least they haven't done it in years.
That's interesting. I mean, I would never have, I would never have attributed 5 years to that. So
I think I've
interesting.
been on 2, and I'm going on my 8th year here.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, we could always spend the day with Megan and hit the road, and you'll be surprised what she can find.
Guaranteed fun.
Guaranteed.
Super.
So the only thing that I would suggest is, do you remember what we saw in, we went on that business trip to not Austin, Texas. Where is it? Garland, Texas.
Garland.
I would like to see something like that they have, where they have the funded outreach through their Chamber of Commerce, and their Chamber of Commerce seemed to be glued more tightly with the economic development and certain things. And they knew where to split off. And I know we talked about it, and I think this is the right time to bring it up, right? Okay. Just wanted to make sure, but there was this, it was, their Chamber of Commerce knew that when it came to developing a new piece of property, they knew to give it to economic development, whereas economic development also knew when it was time to do something like helping out a homegrown retailer put some marketing material that gave to the chamber. And so I knew that at some point I would like to see how we can fund the chamber to be able to have the staff to be able to do that kind of switch where my economic development's working on the big deals, the big money, the big economic vision, and my chamber's working on the small business and more of the retention, because they should be able to touch more, because they should be coming to them for help.
If that's the, I think it's a great idea. If that's the agreement of the rest of the council and our city manager, we will come back to you with some ideas.
Well, yeah, you all can always get together with the chamber, and, you know, early on, we talked about the different roles and the fact that there would need to be an evolution of roles. And unfortunately, right at the beginning of cityhood, it got a little rocky on the chamber's side, and so I'm not sure that we've ever really had that. I mean, you all may have had it in private, but, you know, in terms of public, I'm not sure there's ever been a real clear delineation like Garrett's talking about. That's the kind of thing we saw in, like in Boulder, where the university grew, or the university was the think tank, and then their incubator was the developer and winnower out of what's a good project and what's marketable and what, you know, what's not ever going to make it because nobody wants it. And then the Chamber of Commerce helped to promote that throughout the region. And that model got to be so successful that that organization in Boulder actually became, went to Denver and became the statewide organization for incubating small business. So.
Yeah, I was just, I mean, I've interacted with a lot of different chambers and models of how to do, I mean, if you look at Chico, they have a very similar where big university, not a huge city, and they were for a long time, they were the lead grantee for the SBDC for Northern California. And so their ability to do small business development and study and have the infrastructure to do it for a community of that size, I mean, they were the SBDC for here until the Metro Chamber picked up this county and a few other ones, I think. So yeah, some of it, it's like the cart before the horse, like what, because yes, I'd love us to work on finding more things for Diane to do, but there's a couple of constraints that she has. One, financially, is an investment that was made long before her time to keep it afloat that she's still on the hook for, and I've already been public about my position on what I think we should do about that. The other thing is, we added a bunch of more responsibilities and funding to the chamber. Where's she gonna put anybody to do the work? So, yeah, so I'm just saying, but those are constraints that we have. Obviously, we'd like to keep the community, or not the community, both the community council and the chamber in City Hall. But where do you put all of these people for all of the additional expectations and growth that we've expected of them in the last few years?
Especially since they remodeled their last closet.
Right. So I'm just throwing that all out there. Yes, I love the idea, but keep in mind that we can't just sit around and talk about what we want them to do. We got to figure out where they're going to sit while they do that.
Yeah.
and then also I think financially we need to talk about how just by past events that the city and the chamber have had, how we may be hampering their ability to grow and to do other things anyways.
Help us small business owners.
Yeah. Actually, what you said about Chico State is interesting. For years, the SBDC was housed at Sac State before it went up to Chico. So.
And I would point out from what we talked about previously, probably one of the most sophisticated and successful CDFIs in Northern California for small business lending is in Chico.
Interesting. So maybe that's worth a field trip.
There, sounds good.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Council requests for future agenda items. Hearing none. All right. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.